test. May we request everyone and the on-site participants to please be seated. In a few seconds, we will start now the program. Good afternoon, everyone. And welcome to the Legal Education Board's public consultation for the policy on the in-person learning modality. I am Margaret Castro, one of your staff of the Standards Development and Regulatory Office of the Legal Education Board, and I will be your host as well as your moderator for this public consultation today. We would also like to welcome our online audience. For the participants, you may see it on your screen. And may we ask our online participants to click on their heart emoticons just to check if they're actively on their screens. Hi, guys. All right. There you go. I can see a few ones. Okay. So, I know everyone is very eager to share their perspectives on this matter. But first, let's seek the divine intervention for a smooth, flowing, and interactive public consultation today. May we ask our on-site participants to please stand up until the singing of for our opening prayer, as well as the singing of our Philippine national anthem.
Our Heavenly Father, the fount of all goodness and grace, the cause of wisdom, the source of intelligence, we welcome you, O Lord, to this auspicious gathering of your beloved, who continuously give you thanks for every opportunity to learn something new and become fruitful to the works of your creation. We humbly come to you, not because we are worthy, but because we find ourselves in need of you, who is our strength and our hope, to continue despite the challenges we face in health, prosperity, and our solidarity with one another. We pray that today's gathering, made possible by the grace of advancements in technology and social media, become successful in its endeavors, so we can offer it back to you as our humble offering to honor you, glorify you, and love you through our deeper connection with everyone. May we find bliss in today's session and become more productive children and co-creators of the earth. This we ask and pray through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you. Firstly, the Legal Education Board wishes to acknowledge the generosity of Dean Hill de los Reyes, the La Salle University College of Law, for providing us the venue for this activity. For our online viewers, may we read to you the DLSU General Privacy Notice for this online event. Screenshots and video recording of the event may be done by the Legal Education Board. Photos may be used for print publications. Photos and videos may be posted on various online platforms, including the official university website of the La Salle University and the Legal Education Board's website, as well as the social media controlled by both entities. This event may include media coverage that may translate to story releases online, in print, or in traditional broadcast channels. Information collected via registration or media capture may be kept for archival purposes by both entities. And for any privacy-related concerns, you may contact the data protection officers of the DLSU flashed on your screens. And you may also, as well, contact the data privacy officer of the Legal Education Board through email at contact@leb.gov.ph. This consultation aims to provide a platform for open and constructive dialogue on the topic of in-person learning modality. We encourage our audience to actively participate by sharing their thoughts and asking questions related on this matter. Our rules in this hybrid public consultation is very simple. First, listen to the presentation of the policy. Second, throw in your questions on the chat box after the presentation of the policy for our online audience. And for our on-site audience, kindly go to the aisle as we have provided to you a microphone and a microphone stand to voicely raise out your concerns regarding this policy. I guess everything is all set at this time. Let's start by introducing our panelists. Our first panelist is the chairperson of the Legal Education Board, Chairperson Ana Marie Melanie B. Trinidad. Next, our Commissioner Lorenzo R. Reyes. And Commissioner Josefa T. Serarati. And live on your screens are also our Commissioner Salex Espinosa Alibogha and Commissioner Alexander D. Dumpa. Now, we may ask our online audience to kindly click on your heart emoticon. I'm waiting. Click your heart emoticon, please, not a raised hand. As well as a round of applause for our audience as we call on our chairperson of the Legal Education Board, Chair Ana Melanie B. Trinidad, for her welcome remarks.
I would like to greet our commissioners. Well, they've already been acknowledged, but let me say hi to Commissioner Lorenzo R. Reyes, Commissioner Josefa Serarati, and online, Commissioner Salex E. Alibogha, and Commissioner Alex D. Dumpa. I would first like to greet our honorable deans here present. Dean Soledad Mauis, chairperson also of the Philippine Association of Law Schools. Dean Elvina Christine Angelica B. of St. Louis University. Dean Ismael Al-Shawaid of the University of Cebu School of Law. Dean Ana Maria D. Abad of the Adamson University College of Law. Dean Romero Maria Isabel P. of the De La Salle College of Law. Dean Mayra Batungbakal of the Perpetual Molino College of Law. Dean Ted Chodoro A. Pastrana of the San Sebastian College, Recoletos. Dean Gregorio B. Austral of the University of Bohol. Dean Raquel Rico Dujunco of the Aurora State College of Technology. Dean Manzano of the New Era University College of Law. Of course, we have Dean Vic Ceballos. Thank you for coming. Meron pa po ba akong hindi nabati na Dean? Oh, okay. And of course, our staff and heads in the Legal Education Board, all the deans on site, good afternoon to each and every one of you, as well as to everyone, our friends here present. Before anything, I would like to thank Dean Hill for providing us with this venue for this consultation. During the height of the pandemic, the uncertainty created by this coronavirus demanded emergency, combative, and preventive measures from every aspect of society. The novelty of the global health hazard disrupted the dynamics of legal education in the Philippines. To address the rapidly changing realities, the Legal Education Board instituted emergency pandemic guidelines to allow substitute ways of teaching and delivery of instruction. LEB Memorandum Circular Number 56 provided a more lenient regulation of legal education under the global health emergency. The agency's only request to law schools then was to report to the LEB its relevant actions in response to the pandemic. Although we have not received a report from most of the 125 law schools in the country, we understood that the situation called for leniency relative to the instruction. In 2020, LEB Memorandum Circular Number 62 provided the guidelines for a safe return to school. Such issuance was intended to provide a safe transition from full online to a hybrid or a full on-site learning modality. Such issuance was in anticipation of the eventual shift from online to on-site. 1 month ago, the United Nations World Health Organization declared that COVID-19 is now an established and ongoing health issue that no longer constitutes a public health emergency of international concern, or PHEIC. Now, the board is faced with the issue of the relevance of the pandemic memoranda in the post-pandemic legal education system. We recognize the valuable work done by law schools. They took advantage of the convenience of online modalities to better serve their students and the community. However, without the reports which were required by the LEB's pandemic memoranda, the board had no way of knowing the effectiveness of the new learning modalities innovated by every law school. The LEB is now left with the task to balance the scale. The practice of law is a difficult endeavor. Law school is a difficult experience that is supposed to prepare students for the realities of practice. Which do we prioritize now, convenience or quality? It is a mandate of the LEB to prioritize the measures that will uplift the quality of law schools. It is a mandate of every law school to prioritize the education of its students and provide for opportunities for more worthwhile learning. Thank you and good afternoon to each and every one of you.
Thank you for that welcome remarks, Chair Trinidad. At this point, we will now hear the presentation of the Supervising Education Program Specialist of the Standards Development and Regulatory Office, Mr. John Ampas.
Thank you, Ms. Margaret. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. I am John Robin Ambas, and I am tasked to present to you the proposed policy for in-person classes. But before we go to the actual discussion of the policy, it would be best to contextualize the return to in-person learning. First, we have to go back a few years before the pandemic. As you can see on the slides, we have here a timeline presenting the different issuances made by our agency. Back then, the regulatory framework that oversaw learning modality can be traced back to LEB Memorandum Number 1, wherein it states that distance learning is prohibited unless approved by the board. At that time, this was the overarching idea for how the study of law is taught. However, due to the profound disruption brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, schools at every level were forced to suspend classes. I think we all share that sentiment, whether basic education, higher education, and even legal education, we were forced because of this pandemic. This first started at the National Capital Region. Hence, there is the issuance of LEV MC number 54. That is the suspension of in-campus learning in NCR. Soon after, it slowly came to us that this pandemic was to stay, and that even provinces had to suspend classes because of this pandemic. This prompted the expansion of the LEB order to suspend classes to other provinces as found in LEB MC number 55. Remember, this was in March. However, as the pandemic persisted over the next semester, LEB then issued LEB MC number 56. This particular issuance allowed for remote or distance learning as part of the contingency learning plans that legal education institutes may adopt. By July 2020, we saw some relative improvement in terms of the pandemic. Well, in some areas that allowed for some level of in-person learning. We have here LEB MC number 62 that allowed for such modality subject to the quarantine level of the locality. As the whole legal education sector sought to move forward, the LEB issued additional guidelines for remote classes. This can be found on LEB MC number 67. That was in October 2020. By 2021, LEIs have sought to refine and learn the lessons of 2020. By early February of 2020, the landscape has again seen some positive developments with regard to the pandemic. So on February 2020, we have here new guidelines that were released for the conduct of limited face-to-face classes. That was enshrined in LEB MC number 102. In fact, this particular issuance is similar to the guidelines of guidelines for higher education institutes, which offers new guidelines for the conduct of face-to-face classes, but are essentially more lenient to us LEIs. By March, LEB issued guidelines for admissions for the upcoming academic year. That is, LEIs may implement their own reasonable admission guidelines for academic year 22-23. Now, in August 2022, we have here LEB MC number 125, which further relaxes the rules for the LEIs seeking in-person classes. This policy seeks a balance between LEIs offering face-to-face classes and the students who would still prefer online learning or online classes. Now, May of this year, as what Chair mentioned, the World Health Organization declared an end to COVID-19's global health emergency status. Hence, the policy is merely returning to the previous framework prior to the pandemic. So the idea here is we are simply going back to the very first LEBMO, which promotes or prohibits online classes. Now, let's go over the proposed policy for in-person classes. So we have here sections 1 and 2 presenting the the guidelines for what subjects may be taught in a face-to-face setup and an online or hybrid setup. In section 1 po, you can see there that starting academic year 2023 to 2024, all legal education institutions shall design and deliver the basic law program through an on-site learning setup. There is an exception, however, that is section 2, but going over section 2, we will see that the exception simply applies to elective courses. Therefore po, for section number 1, the general design for how subjects will be taught in legal education institutions will be in an in-person setup or modality. If the elective courses that may be taught using the hybrid setup, you have section number 3 for the specific guidelines, particularly the number of hours or the contact hours that may be designated for, since it is hybrid, 50% will be designated for the online setup, while 50% for in-person. So an example would be, in a course that requires 54 hours, contact hours in a semester, then the setup should be at least 27 hours should be spent on a physical learning facility, such as our traditional classrooms or clinics or other related learning spaces. On the other hand, the rest of that 50% may be delivered through other flexible learning strategies, such as, but not limited to, modulars, the online learning modules, or synchronous, asynchronous learning sessions, and also a remotely guided peer learning approaches. Next, for section number 4, for the subject of clinical legal education, experiential learning courses such as CLEP shall from here on be conducted primarily through an on-site learning setup. So when we deal with the subjects of CLEP, as presented in the policy, it should be done in an online learning setup. However, this is without prejudice to certain clinical legal education activities that may require the use of remote work technologies. Perhaps if an LEI has an LMS that is able to have discussions over the internet to discuss clinical legal education activities, then you can do that for section number 4. In terms of assessment, being an integral part of the curriculum, all LEIs, irrespective of the mode of instructional delivery, shall ensure the appropriate and adequate means of assessment, are effectively designed, implemented, and documented. Facilities and resources in support of the chosen modality should also be made available and accessible. Next slide po. So in this particular slide, we have, if you can still remember po, during the registration, we have asked you for certain questions and comments regarding the policy, and we have consolidated these comments and grouped them into certain categories. As what you can see po in the cloud, these are the recurring themes from the public, no? Your comments, questions regarding our policy. So we have here perhaps questions and concerns on access to education, questions and concerns on the inclusivity of in-person classes. You will also see there a big chunk for the word distance and academic freedom. And then there are also some words, I can see there, pedagogical, empirical, online, innovation. So our discussion later on will be revolving in this mentioned topics po. I guess that's it. Thank you very much for listening po.
Thank you, Sir John, for presenting the policy to everyone. And I know everyone is very eager to share their views. But before that, we would just like to remind everyone that the flow of our dialogue with the commissioners later on. The first half will be dedicated solely for the deans or faculties or admin officers of the legal education institutions, followed by a coffee break, and then the on-site students, law students, after the coffee break. We would also like to tell everyone that your comments during the pre-registration are all recognized. We have consolidated it and will be submitted to the board and bank. So we cannot really flash them on the screen yet at this time. And for our on-site audience, may we request at this point, you may after the coffee break, you may enter all of your comments and or questions for the board members if you want to be answered. And let's start now for the deans, faculties, and the admin. Our first question is one of the most recurring question or topics regarding the policy is that online hybrid modalities offer access to students in provinces to study in Metro Manila. Similarly, law professors in Manila may be able to teach in law schools in the provinces. How do we wish to respond on this concern? Board members of the Legal Education Board, please.
Thank you. That's true. We've discussed in some conversations with deans that they are able to tap professors from Metro Manila to teach in the provinces during the pandemic. However, we believe that where there is a vibrant legal community, there should really be no dearth of lawyers. So the issue of there will be no professor to teach is really a little bit stretched. And second, when these schools were created or were established prior to the pandemic, they already had a roster of their professors who will teach on site. So that was, of course, set aside during the pandemic. But now that we're hoping to go back to the face-to-face modality, there's no reason why they cannot obtain or have the same roster of professors to teach face-to-face.
All right, thank you so much, Chair, for that feedback. Second question, it has been asserted that online learning or hybrid affords flexibility for working students. How do we address this concern? Members of the Board of the Legal Education, please.
About 2 days ago, we were privileged to be invited by the Arellano Law Foundation to the grant of honoris causa to Solicitor General Maynard Guevara. And I was really very, very inspired by his keynote address, in which he said that he was a working student all throughout his law studies. And he studied in Ateneo. He graduated from Ateneo College of Law. So the main theme of his speech was sacrifice. He had to really sacrifice and do a lot of time management in order that he could work and at the same time study. Now, of course, we may say that Solicitor Guevara is in a league on his own. But there were a lot of working students as well during our time. They were able to manage working and studying at the same time, obtaining a law degree, for the purpose of obtaining a law degree. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. May we ask the deans from the on-site if you have any question? Yes, Dean? You may approach the aisle, please. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon to all.
Good afternoon, Dean.
Just to let you know, I've been teaching in the last 32 years. And I think that's a handful of teaching years in my life. Anyway, I've noticed that on-site learning is a great equalizer. Why is that? Now I'm teaching in three to four law schools. And right here, I am in Metro Manila. Now, Solicitor Guevara was just a year below me in Ateneo Law School. I know him very well. Chair, with all due respect, times then were so different. Pwede ho kayong mag-park sa Ateneo at that time na hindi magagawan. Ngayon po hindi na ganoon. Number two, the access po of the students vis-a-vis the professors to the students would be part of academic freedom. Now, I know a lot of issues will come up with pros and cons, but here is my, I should say, win-win formula. Let the schools run their law schools. This is a free economic, we have free economy here. Hindi naman po magpapatakbo ang law school kung malulugi dahil mauubusan ng estudyante. At yung mga estudyante naman po, ay matatalino yan. Hindi papasok sa law school kung sila mahihirapan na magbiyahe. Take for example now where I'm teaching in Davao. Guys, do you know that one student takes 2 hours from his work site to go to the law school? Translate that in Metro Manila. Sa traffic po dito. Gusto ko lang malaman ninyo, I was part of a convocation with the chief. Chief Hismundo was my classmate. Sabi ho niya, time will come, and this will happen very soon. You will have a hearing in Cebu in the morning and have a hearing in Bacolod in the afternoon with you in Metro Manila. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Simple. Online is the way to go. Online, for me, does not put any lesser value to the education of the students and of the professors. Isipin po ninyo, when I was the dean in Cagayan de Oro, gusto ko ito yung madinig. 15 years ago, at nakakala nila si Raulo ako. Sabi ko, how I wish I did not have to fly from Metro Manila to CDO, 2 hours on the road, another 1 hour, kung hindi cancel the flight na Cebu Pacific, boy, 8 hours ako nasa airport. Sabi ko sa kanila, sa mga faculty ko, how I wish I could just do video streaming. And you know what? During the pandemic, sabi nung incumbent dean, again, my classmate in law school, si Dean Olet, alam mo, Dean Vic, ang tingin namin sa inyo una, sira ulo ka eh. Bakit? Pinagtatawa na ka namin. Ano ba sinasabi ni Dean Vic na online? And now it's happening. This is the real thing. Why don't we embrace change? Marami po makikinabang, even the infrastructure of the law school, you don't have to run your beautiful building. Ang mga estudyante po, nasa kanila po ang kamay nila para sila mag-aral. Now, again and again, para po, gusto ko lang sabihin na the win-win solution here is please, matatanda na po tayo sa industriya. Alam natin yung ginagawa natin. Alam natin ano ang dapat para sa mga estudyante. Yung mga estudyante na yan, mga matatalino yan. Hindi po ba? You know what's good for you guys. If you want to go to a school that's on-site, go. If you want to go to a law school that's online, go ahead. Number 2, ang dami po mga Pilipino ng mga OCW o FW na gusto mag-law. Hindi lang makayanan kasi nasa ibang bansa sila. So, with online education as a platform, marami po tayong mga kapwa Pilipino na matutulungan. And guys, not everyone in law school wants to become a lawyer. Yung iba dyan, gusto lamang ma-promote once they accumulate enough units. Alam ko yan, may mga estudyante ko, mga bombero, mga police. And then, sila po ay matututo rin. They can be of help to their kapwa Filipinos abroad. So yun lang po. Hindi ko na po papahabaan ito kasi baka ma-bore naman kayo sa akin. Pero sana po, hayaan nyo na ang law school ang magpatakbo. Huwag nyo na pong ipilit na kinakailangan on-site lahat. No. Maybe doon sa CLEP, I think we can be more creative. Magagaling ko tayong mga abogado. We can be very creative. Kaya po natin yan i-twist na ma-achieve natin ang goal natin na lahat yan ay pwede natin magampanan on an online platform. Lahat tayo may cellphone, lahat tayo nasa YouTube, nasa TikTok. Let's take advantage of it. That's the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Vic, for that view. We recognize that. And may we ask may we remind, by the way, the online audience to kindly indicate your view or your questions for the board members of the Legal Education Board. If you are a dean, faculty, or admin officer of a legal education institution, and or a law student enrolled or whether incoming. Thank you. And please also set your messages to everyone and not private message our tech. I hope you understand that we are undermanned at this time. So thank you so much for your... okay. Yes. Yes. Kindly also, indicate your name in the chat box also. Thank you. Anyone from... okay, Dean Ada.
Ay, sorry.
May we ask the usher, please, to... Okay, yeah. That's okay, Dean. Oops.
Okay, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon po, Chair and the Commissioners of the Legal Education Board. I'd like to speak in behalf of the Philippine Association of Law Schools. We had a meeting 2 nights ago, and it was quite an extended discussion. We wanted to come up with a common policy or a position. But then again, under the circumstances, we found out, number one, that there were already a lot of universities that had gone online. However, it did not follow with, on face-to-face, on-site. A lot of universities had already gone face-to-face in accordance with the directives of the government, but that was not the direction of the law schools. The law schools were invariably allowed to decide for themselves, precisely because there was still no policy coming from the Legal Education Board on whether or not we will go face-to-face. Now, faced with this particular policy now, we believe that there can be no one-size-fits-all policy in respect of the law schools, because we have different circumstances and different peculiarities in each law school. There are some law schools, as had been noted by Dean Vic Ceballos, that had hired or engaged the services of their faculty outside of their provinces. And this was a very huge and welcome development for the provincial schools. There are also incidents where we learned that some law schools were going to, were getting students from abroad, especially or even out of the provinces, their own provinces. The online education had allowed them to go to law school without much costs, especially as regards rental, accommodations, and expenses as like those. So the point of the matter, Your Honors, is that we would seek that the Legal Education Board give more flexibility to the law schools to determine the teaching methodology that is appropriate for their own schools and their own students, if at all, and to allow them such flexibility because they are mostly on the ground. They would know exactly what their students would need. Of course, we understand likewise the need for quality education, and I hope that we will trust the law schools also, that they will stick to the standards of quality that is dictated upon by the society. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your perspective, Dean
Miss
Ada
Moderator,
from
can I
Adamson
share?
University.
Miss Moderator, can I share? This is Dean
Okay, we're gonna
Cabrera.
call
Can I
on
reply?
online. For our online question.
Miss Moderator, can I share? This
Okay.
is Dean Cabrera of Liceo de Cagayan University in Cagayan de Oro.
Yes, please, Dean.
Yes, can I be allowed to have the floor, please?
Yes, you have the floor, Dean, please. We're now listening to you.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Ito si Dean Manuel Cabrera sa Liceo de Cagayan University in Cagayan de Oro City. I would want to share with each of you the Liceo law story, because I believe that every law school has its own story, has its own peculiarity, has its own circumstance and experience. And with your indulgence, I would want to share to you my story. With the advent of the pandemic, most of our senior professors beg off from teaching. And being a senior citizen myself, I was trapped in my home, scared of getting out and contracting COVID. I'm not really very updated on these online things because, not like my classmate in Vic Ceballos, who's very techy. I've decided to stick to my Nokia now. But I discovered that there's some sort of a Zoom technology which would allow online education. Then I said, is it possible that I can invite some of my classmates? We come from the class of 83, 84, which includes the Chief Justice, Alexis Mundo, who was also my classmate, Dean Ceballos and others. And so I called up friends, Judge Art Natividad, Bartap Natcher, Ateneo class of 83, a classmate and fraternity brother. Brad, magturo ka naman dito sa Liceo. I called up Attorney Buddy Padilla, who has been teaching at the Ateneo Rockwell and even the old Ateneo dun sa may RCBC. I called up Dean Ceballos. I talked to Attorney Nico Martin, who is one of the senior staff of Justice Sin. And then si Nico, sabi ko, Nico, tulungan mo ako maghanap ng professor. Pwede na pala to. Hindi na kailangan tayong magpapadala. It's impractical, impossible to be sending faculty members from San Beda, from Ateneo, from UP to Cagayan de Oro. So si Nico nag-recruit, no? Mga mostly, of course, Ateneo, kasi ng alma mater namin. Mga product ng Georgetown, University of Leiden, no? University of Australia. Now, we have good faculty members, but we can always expand our faculty members. Kung magaling na yung local faculty members namin, dagdagan natin yan ng experts from other law schools. Kaya nga nung bumisita si Chief Justice, kasi yung marker, yung historical marker, no? Nasa harapan siya ni Justice Marvic Leonen. Sabi niya, classmate, ilan ang taga-UP mo? Sabi ko, mga 7 yata. Ilan ang taga-Ateneo mo? Almost 15. Tinignan niya si Justice Leonen. Could this have been possible if there is no online technology? Now, I do not know whether this has a correlation or some sort of a miracle happened. Mga kaibigan, nung araw, there was a time ang pumasa sa bar exam sa amin, isa lang. But it was a distinction kasi siya yung pinakamatandang kumuha ng bar exam. I remember inviting Tony Bernardo, no, who was class valedictorian also of Ateneo, and number 2 in the bar, Brad Go. Tony, imbitahin kita sa testimonial. Bah, pagpunta dun sa Xavier Estates Clubhouse, sabi niya, wow, ang dami mga estudyante, faculty. Nagulat siya, Brad, isa lang pala yung honorary mo. Eh sabi ko, pero siya ang pinakamatanda. Hindi pa ako din nun. But you know, from a less than 1% passing rate, nung first digitize natin under Justice Lunen, I had 75 new lawyers. Ba, hindi na masama, no? 1 to 75. Is it a miracle? Or perhaps it has something to do with our efforts, part of which is expanding and even further improving our faculty through online education. Second, yung last bar exam. Ba, meron kaming 37. So it's a great leap from isa to 75, isa to 37. Ano ba milagro ang ginawa ko? Mari nakatulong. Kasi yung mga estudyante ko, very proud. Sabi nila, Liceo is just like Arneo. Kasi ang faculty natin, isa-iba-isa mo sa Ateneo, hindi tayo maluluma. Puro taga-Ateneo rin at taga-UP. Ngayon, nung araw, hindi kami nagpa-participate, no? Yung tihangki, rule of law, magdi-debate ka dun sa Ateneo, classmate mo si Dondi. No? Sabi ko, pare, hindi naman practical. Padala yung mga estudyante doon, magkano ang magagastos? Naging online. Philippine law debate participated by the finest law schools of the country. Sabi ko, pwede na kayong sumali. Nandun ka lang sa kwarto mo, makikipag-debate ka na. We participated. It was our baptism of fire, but our students were so inspired. They landed number 2. Hindi na masama yun. For a provincial law school. Now, nag-participate kami sa Davao recently. Lahat ng mga Mindanao law schools. Yung mga bagito kong estudyante ng mga prom-D, nag-champion. Kasi motivated na sila. Dahil, like it or not, iba pa rin ang kultura. Alam mo, di ba, in sports, in anything, Imperial Manila will always have its way. But now, we are bringing legal education to the grassroots. No? Legal education to the grassroots. Now, next, CLEP. No? Paano tayo pupunta sa BGMP? Bawal nung COVID, di ba? We had a great idea. We entered into a memorandum of agreement with BGMP Northern Mindanao, wherein we will give legal education in 23 jail facilities in Osamis, Oroquieta, Lanao del Norte, Iligan, Camiguin, Valencia, Bukidnon, Malaybalay, Bukidnon, Cagayan de Oro City, simultaneously. At hindi lang kami nagbibigay ng one-shot deal. It's a course, kompleto, may graduation. In fact, I invited our honorable chairperson, Melanie Trinidad, Com Jojo, to be our guest of honors. And they know that exists. And it still continues until today. The modification, yung provincial jail ng Misamis Oriental bukas, graduation. Online at the same time, face-to-face. No? So, of course, may exception man yata doon, but sayang yan. CLEP can be done online. We are engaged with the Talaandig tribe in the mountains of Bukidnon. We cannot go there every day. It's 200 kilometers away. In the winding roads of Bukidnon, with all the rebels and bandits, baka selective occasions lang kami pupunta doon. So far, nakatulong talaga yung online. But remember, Ateneo might go face-to-face, UP might go face-to-face. That is their call. That is what is best for them in their opinion. But for us, we have our own story to tell. Ngayon, mga 90% sa aming mga estudyante ay galing lang sa grassroots. Meron akong bumbero, fireman. Meron akong rank and file na patrolman sa pulis. no? Ah, meron akong mga lowly clerks in the government and private sector. Ngayon, ah, most of them, alam mo, while, si Justice Menard Guevara, he is more of an exception. He's a bar top notcher. But generally, our students are not that caliber. Hindi ganun ang kalibre nila. Sila yung medyo, ang hirap mga tuluan no? Sa totoo, ang pinakamadaling i-manage yung Ateneo de Manila. Ang pinakamahirap i-manage yung Liceo. Kasi doon yung mga estudyante mo galing talaga sa grassroots. No, sa English na lang, sabi nga ni Judge Natividad, pare, dapat may remedial English ka. Medyo nagkakabaluktot yan. No, they come from poor families, no? Ang laki ng savings, no? Time, money, and effort. They save 2 hours a day through online education. Ngayon, kaysa mag-travel sila. And where do they live? Those who are familiar with Cagayan de Oro, there's a new tourism area, Samisor, Claveria. They live 2 hours away from Liceo. They are in the mountains of Lanao, Bukidnon. Ngayon, of course, pag magpi-face-to-face tayo, tanggal talaga silang lahat. Sayang naman. Sayang naman. Now, what am I saying? We cannot have a single guideline, policy, and rule which will govern our law schools. Every law school has a story to tell. Give us our academic freedom. Give us our privilege to determine. Because after all of us know the importance of legal education. If you do this, you will deprive 6,000 PDL, persons deprived of liberty, the benefit of online legal education, which I'm inviting you if you want to witness tomorrow. Tomorrow, we have a graduation.
Hi, Dean. I'm so sorry to cut you off,
Thank you.
but we have a
Okay.
limited time for the
All right,
other
so I
Dean
have
law
said my
schools also.
piece.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
views. We recognize them. And would the board members like to comment or?
Yes, please.
Okay, please.
It's hard to comment when the message is a three-parter. Can you please ask us to reply
Yes,
for every
please, Chair.
single comment, because we forget already what the first person had said.
Yes, please, Chair.
Okay.
Please reply on the.
Okay. I'd like to address it as I remember it. First of all, both Dean Ceballos and Dean Olet talked about academic freedom. But if you remember the case of Pimentel versus LEB, where Leb Mo 1 was sought to be struck as unconstitutional, a lot of provisions in that Leb Mo was indeed struck as unconstitutional ultra vires by the Supreme Court, except for that part which prohibited distance learning, which means that distance learning is still a prohibition as sustained by the Supreme Court itself. And the issue there in that Leb Mo was academic freedom. Therefore, the fact remains that the Supreme Court has upheld that online learning is valid. The prohibition of online learning is valid. Now, if you want to go to the path of academic freedom, if you read the case of Pimentel versus LEB, the court there has extensively discussed the essence of academic freedom. It answers the question, who should teach, who should be taught, and how to teach. The issue of whether we're going to teach online or on-site does not answer the how, the who, and who should be taught in academic freedom. It answers a question where. Where do we want our professors and students to be with respect to the studying of legal education? So we cannot go into the direction of academic freedom. Number 3, yes, you can cite academic freedom, but academic freedom is not absolute. The state has a legitimate interest in academic freedom, and that LEB exists is proof of that legitimate interest of the state in academic freedom. Okay? Number 4, yes, it's a business. you tell us to allow you to run your business. You have an interest in your business, but we have an interest in performing our mandate, which is to uplift a unified legal education system in the country. Okay. You still want to talk, you want to talk about academic freedom. Okay. I understand it is true, it is good that you're able to teach students from foreign lands. That's your position, that students from foreign lands can have access to legal education. But the truth of the matter is legal education is not for everyone. It is for people who will devote time. It was for people who will go the distance, whether that distance is physical or on plane. It is for people who are willing to set aside some of equally important matters in their life for the pursuit of legal education. I'm sorry that the firemen that you were citing, the poor people, I have much regard for poor people. Malambot po ang puso ko sa mahirap. Gustong-gusto ko po na makaaral lahat ng mahirap. But law is not for everyone. You have to choose. Now, you also said that working students can have access to legal education. I already said that Solicitor General Guevara is a class on its own. But again, I repeat, it's called sacrifice. Not only sacrifice, but also time management. And surely all of us can perform sacrifices and can really do something about our time management. Now, you say that the students are better off online or can have better access, blah, blah, blah. I don't mean to blah, blah, blah. And so forth and so forth. But students in higher education are going online. Why are law schools so entitled that you have to maintain online when all the rest of the Philippines is going on site? So I don't see the rationale there. Next, you're saying that you're able to you're able to get the services of professors from Metro Manila to teach in your respective schools or in other respective schools. That's really very good. But I think the issue here is convenience. It's really going to be convenient if those professors deliver their subjects online. But you did not talk about the effect on the students. How much are the students absorbing with online education? By saying that online will work, we are assuming that there is a good connect or intersection between education, legal education, and technology. There is none. We have bad Wi-Fi. So even then, just that fact that we have bad Wi-Fi, how do you say that you can deliver great education using online? Next, back to academic freedom. Let us even assume that a student can really learn very well online. But our job as professors is not only to give them information, develop their critical thinking, but also to develop their values as Filipino lawyers. And you cannot develop values online. You can only develop values face-to-face. Can you imagine, remember the law school is a formative years, the 4 years or so in law school are the formative years of a lawyer. Can you imagine a parent disciplining or forming the values of his or her child virtually? I don't think a parent can develop the values of a child online. Sure, you can probably make your child geniuses by teaching them, making them read as much information as they can online or encyclopedias if they still exist, but you cannot form the value of a child online. You can have many enrollees. You can have those foreign students. You can have 1 million foreign students enrolled online. But can you really develop the values of these law students? Can you really develop in them the ability to think on their feet? It's difficult to do that online. You also said that the last bar exam, there were lawyers. A lot of them produced online, but that's not really accurate. The bar exams of 2022 and 2020, the 2022 and the most recent bar exams, the takers were not really online or products of online learning. Most of them were still products of on-site learning because online began in 2020. The bar examinees took their bar, the best bar ever, and the bar of Justice Kagiwa in 2021 and 2022. So we'll just do the math, and we know that these students, these examinees, the successful examinees were not products of online learning. You also suggest that there be standards for law schools to form their own standards. But what are we regulators for if the discretion is left to the law schools alone? When you implement policies in your law schools, you're the deans, you expect your students to follow because you're the regulator of your students. We are the regulators of legal education, and we share that pursuit, we share that holy job with you. Do you really expect, or would you really appreciate your students telling them, you know, I come from the province, this should be my standard. I come from Metro Manila, this should be the standard for me. You can't do that. You cannot have different standards for different sets of students. We cannot also, in the pursuit of our role, have standards for schools in bracket A, bracket B, bracket C. It just doesn't work that way. We are regulators of legal education, and we do not say that arrogantly. It's not a privilege. It is a mandated duty. And that is why we are determining what is best and what has worked well for students, and that is face-to-face learning. So I'm sorry, but personally, we are overrating on-site learning because we don't have yet empirical data that the products of this online learning are going to do well in practice. Thank you.
Thank you for that reply, Chair. May we remind everyone that we have 3 minutes left, but we are going to extend the Dean of the legal education institutions to open forum for another 10 minutes. And kindly please limit to 2 to 3 minutes. I know you have a lot of views, and we also would like to acknowledge the comments online, especially the different comments there, but we cannot read it out. But we would like to call on again the Dean. Kindly please.
Dean Olan, Sarmiento.
Dean Alan Salmento, please.
I said Dean Ulan.
Okay. Sorry.
3 minutes. Dean
2 to 3
Kicho
minutes. Yes,
of
please.
Universidad and
Hindi marinig.
the appointed Dean of University of Makati have waived their right of the 3 minutes in my favor. So
Dean, may law students
I
pa
will
po.
have 9 minutes.
Tapos may onsite pa tayo.
for
We're
this
until 4 p.m.
Good
here.
afternoon, Melanie.
But we respect it.
Yes, please. Initially, really, when we got to read the
I'm sorry, Dean. Is it okay if you can use the microphone at the side? Okay. That would be wonderful. After Dean Kicho, next, right? And then the next.
Gemma Gatdula, I'm sorry.
Gatdula, okay. Later, Gatdula. Okay, so.
Gemma din.
Okay.
Hindi marinig.
reiterate, the German statement of Min Brenner
Yeah, we cannot hear.
with burning concern. It is the only papal encyclical that was written in German by no less than Pope.
Audio please, audio please.
in assessing now the growth of fascism and the disregard of the rights of people in Germany, especially the Jewish people. That is why he entitled that.
We cannot hear you.
It is entitled as Mint Mrenender.
Sorry po, wala pong audio.
Two things lang po talaga, Ma'am Mel, Chairman, with all due respect. Number one, I believe this proposal of yours is not just a violation of the constitutional provisions of academic freedom, but is also a violation or disregard of natural law. I'm not just talking of natural law that says that what is right and different from what is wrong, but the natural law that tells us what goes up must come down. Let me just go through it first. Sa totoo lang. I do not need to stress to you, first and foremost, I am quite just surprised that just last year, specifically through Legal Education Board Memorandum Order number 125, series of 2022, entitled Updated Guidelines and Recommendation for Legal Education Institution Conducting Face-to-Face Classes During the COVID-19 Pandemic. Let me just read to you your statement there po, kayong mga mga board member. Sabihin ko sa inyo. Second paragraph, while the guidelines, ito, having said that, the following guidelines are purely recommendatory in the period, in the exercise of their academic freedom. Sila nagsabi niyan, all legal educational institutions are advised, if not expected, to implement their own responsible strategies to prevent the spread of COVID-19. That already, in a way, may be an admission on the part of the board that we do have that academic freedom to determine how. Just a little summary or history of academic freedom in the Philippines lang. 1935, clearly, it was just expressly granted to state colleges and universities. 1973, it expanded its scope to even private higher educational institutions, not just. But in the 1987 Constitution, if you read it, it is very different because it is not by or exercised by the higher education, but academic freedom shall be enjoyed in all higher educational institutions. That means that academic freedom here is not just pertaining to institutional, but also protects faculty and student. And when you talk about the faculty academic freedom, it is the basic, well-accepted principle in the United States. The Association of American Professors has accepted the concept of teacher academic freedom to include also a manner of how they are to teach. And when it comes to the students, it also speaks of that right of the student that they be granted, which our Constitution affirms in no uncertain terms, the right to quality education and in determining as to how it shall be delivered to them. So, this proposed issuance by your board is not just a disregard of institutional academic freedom. It is also a disregard of the faculty and the student's right to choice.
Thank you,
Let me
Dean.
now go through first. Hindi pa naman ako
Okay,
tapos
sorry.
eh. Sabihin ko na, I do not need to go through the practical, which really, you see, kagad sinabi sa akin, you know, we are like Magellan, who after discovering air travel, we still insist on going around the world through the galleons. That's exactly what is happening here. We base our reimposition of the face-to-face on the fact that there is no longer any pandemic. But the truth of the matter is, we have discovered a more efficient, a more effective way to deliver quality education, which every citizen, according to the Constitution, hindi lang yung mga estudyante dito sa Maynila, but even the students. Iyon na nga, sa Cagayan de Oro. You see, I hope you, Madam Chair, will not take this personally, but I really do not agree. Yes, I can tell you that there are two constitutional basic objectives for Philippine education. One, delivery of quality education, and two, formation of character. And that would involve really teaching them discipline. But the point is, the second portion is more applicable insofar as basic education is concerned. You even said that, Madam Chair. Children. Our students are no longer children. What is more important is that we get to share to them what would you have here in Imperial Manila to the far-flung provinces of Mindanao or even in Bicol. Now, insofar as the medical issue is concerned, okay, no more pandemic. But the fact is, COVID is still here with us, and it is highly contagious. Once a student, a faculty, is infected, he would have to isolate himself or herself. Worse is that sometimes, or more often than not, they would have to be hospitalized. Do you now see what type of health insurance we do have? Much expenses for the students, when there is the possibility for us to still prevent the same. If we are going to the legal aspect, I beg, therefore, to say or apologize that the declaration in Pimentel is a mere obiter. Wala namang dineclare talaga doon na the LEB could dictate upon us, because academic freedom as I know it, on the basis of Garcia versus Loyola House Studies, which relied much on jurisprudence on the United States, academic freedom may only be restrained by the state if it is clearly violative of law, morals, customs, public policy, public order, or ito ka na, violation of the doctrine of unconstitutional prohibition.
All right.
You see?
Okay.
And there is none. Now, as to whether or not it is not effective or valid, yung online, we do not, the chair herself admitted, wala pa tayong basis. So, if ever, why don't we give this method or modality a chance? Kahit isang taon, let's wait for the result of the Lopez bar. Because then, we can see. Because the students who will graduate and take the Lopez bar would be entirely under the online education.
My apologies, sir, but we have given you 13 minutes exactly for your view. Thank you so much. We would love to hear more through writing. And we really appreciate if you can write a position paper and submit it to us. We don't have much time. Again, this is a public consultation dedicated for all. We would like to ask the board if you would like to reply. Or
Yes, I would like to reply to that. With due respect, Dean Ulan, you said that you make us recall LEBMO 125, wherein it was said that the LEBMO was merely recommendatory. This was issued in 2020, and this 2022.
Yes.
2022. Yes, but at that
Entitled Updated Guidelines and Recommendation for Legal Education Conducting Face-to-Face Classes During the COVID-19 Pandemic.
Yes, Dean. But in 2022, the deaths arising from the pandemic were still high. There were still deaths arising. There was still the number of deaths in 2022, early 2022, compared to the number of deaths in 2023. No, let me finish first, Dean.
You're having admitted of the academic freedom.
Let me finish. Let me please finish, Dean. In 2022, the death toll was still high compared to the death toll now. Even then, there were still schools, responsible schools, who wanted to go to face-to-face. That is why we said that they could go face-to-face if they still wanted to. Now, you said that the 1987 Constitution protects academic freedom, and there is academic freedom enjoyed by both the faculty and the students. I don't know what academic freedom has to be enjoyed by the faculty, except that we should allow them to teach the way they want to teach. And that goes into the technique of teaching. That goes into the content of their materials. With respect to the modality, which is between online and on-site, I don't think it should be the professor's choice to decide whether I should teach online, I want to teach at home, and I should teach on-site. I think to leave that to the professor's discretion under the cloak of academic freedom would be really, really dangerous, because then all professors would choose whatever is more convenient for them. With respect to the students, you say, Dean, that they should be able to determine how legal education should be delivered to them. Can we also let the students determine whether we should continue with the Socratic method? Because intimidation is not working for them. They could say that the more intimidated we are, the less we absorb. We propose the elimination of the Socratic method. Can we leave that preference to the students? I think the preference of students is out of the table, except that it's off the table, except that they have the right to finish their law program in their respective, in whatever school they have enrolled, as long as they comply with the rules and regulations and they are not disqualified by any other means or for any other reason. You said also that, Dean, with due respect, that discipline is for basic education only. If you compare, but you said, Dean, that it's only for basic. Yeah, yes, but kasi Dean, they have to be disciplined. But I agree that. But I think we have to discipline law students because They are going to be lawyers. They are going to be the protectors of our life, liberty, and property. If we cannot teach them the value of honesty because we don't see them live, then we cannot make good lawyers out of them. We can make many, many hundreds of lawyers online, but we cannot make good quality lawyers out of them.
how the legal education has to be delivered to them.
Excuse me, sir. You won't be heard online because we need to use the microphone. And I would like to remind everyone that this is not a debate. Again, yes, I understand, sir, but this is the time for the reply of the chairperson of the Legal Education Board. May we just give her some due respect of the time to reply on your view earlier. Again, this public consultation is aimed to gather all of your views and perspectives. We as much as love to hear you, but we limit our time. And again, the chairperson is still speaking, and let's just give her first the time, as well as the other commissioners. Thank you so much. Chair, please
you.
continue.
We also mentioned about senior citizens. They are in more danger of contagion or contaminating the disease, those with comorbidities. We are not experts in the coronavirus. We are not experts in any way about how this pandemic should be treated. But what we know is that there is no quarantine declaration by the IATF. So senior citizens leave their homes, they go to the mall, they go to church, they go to places. And if, let's say, they don't even go out because they want to be protecting themselves, their families go out. They associate with people who go out. So for as long as there's no declaration of a quarantine by the IATF, the argument that senior citizens need more protection really, I think, would not hold water. Also, if you think about it, the distance between the professor and the students, where the professor sits front and center, is much wider than the distance between a senior citizen eating in a restaurant, sitting on a table, next to the person who might have signs of COVID. So we're not IATF experts. We're not, we cannot really, I would hate to say that there's no more pandemic. I would not like to say that. But if we read the news, if we go out today, even now, not all of us are wearing masks because we know that the virus is still something to be worried about, but we take the necessary, we observe the necessary protocols, and we protect ourselves. So in as much as really the senior citizens and those with comorbidities are most in danger, for now, because life has been going on the way it had been prior to the pandemic, then we could live the way we did prior to the pandemic.
Thank you, Chair. May I just read very quickly the views online? This is long overdue earlier. Mr. Ralph Sarmiento, the member of Faculty of Law of the University of St. La Salle, Bacolod, expressed his concerns and recommendations. There were 7 bulleted. Thank you so much, sir. We are going to gather and collate them, as well as the Dean Joan Largo, as well as the viewpoint of Mr. Abella, and Justine Sagkang, faculty, also requesting for the opportunity to comment on the policy. Thank you so much, Attorney Justin. If you could email that would be much appreciated as we have limited time. And Alfeca
Excuse
Adolfo
me.
Madrid.
Can we just continue with it? I think the students, I think the dean's views are, the students' views are important, but there are many deans who still would want to speak, whether for online
Okay,
or
Chair.
on site. So,
All right, Chair.
and also
No
the ones
problem.
on
May we
online
call
as
on
well.
now the Dean, sir, please.
Hi, I'm Jamai Katula from UANP. Well, I'll probably taking some unpopular views here, pero personally for me, as far as UANP is concerned, we will be doing on-site classes. And so, in the sense that if, for example, the other law schools don't, that of course that's going to be their decision. As far as we are concerned, we will be doing in-person classes, and that is our preference, and that's that. The thing here is that we have a legal education board. And so what would be the function, the mandate of the legal education board if in the end everybody naman pala is going to be allowed to do what they want? The thing is that we're in a profession, and the profession has to be regulated by society. Now we have essentially students who, by all psychological studies and everything that you have to consider about education, are of a particular age, most likely from up to probably the age of 25. Generally speaking, a lot of them will probably be at the age of 25, 26, which, as you mentioned correctly, is going to be part of the real formative years of a person. That is why for a lot of people, for example, a certain number of rights are usually limited from 18 to 25. So, in the sense that you have a lot of people who are still in their formative years, to deprive them, for example, of their ability to be face-to-face with their teachers is a little bit disadvantageous for them, because around 65 to 80% of learning happens through observation of the other person, and also interaction with their fellow students. Now, it is possible for online education to be beneficial if you're talking here of medyo older students talaga. Those who have already perhaps passed LLB or JD or what have you, and are brushing up perhaps on a Masters of Law level or PhD level. But even then, at the PhD level, it's always necessary for it to have on-site classes. So what am I saying here? I have a limited amount of time. I could actually talk for a long, long time on whether or not COVID is actually a pandemic. Natural law was mentioned, and I know a little thing about natural law. What I want to say is that the legal profession is indeed a profession. Legal education is not essentially for the benefit of the law student. It is built for the benefit of society. Legal education is supposedly there for the purpose of providing society with quality, better lawyers. Now, there is no study that has actually shown that online education is better than in-person classes. Each and every study that has been made, and we have already 3 or 2 years of experience now on this, has shown that in-person classes are always superior and better. Now, yes, but let me, and that is, and you can Google this anytime. If you like, you can search for a study that actually says online classes is better. I'm telling you, you cannot find it. I have been writing and reading about this for the past 2 or 3 years already. And I think, since 2021, we should have opened up na. But again, that's a different issue. Now, let me go back to my original point. If the Legal Education Board was not around, and if for all of you guys who have been reading my writings, I have always been an advocate, sana, just to allow the law schools to be able to do what they want. And I would have preferred really less regulation for law schools. I would have preferred that the law schools be allowed to compete on their own, and let the bar exams be the one to sift out which law schools are being successful or not. But we are talking in a situation where there's a legal education board. And we are talking in a situation where there is a profession that we need to be able to regulate. And so in that situation, I think what we have to do is to be able to understand that, yes, we may have academic freedom, but that freedom is not going to be absolute. And we also have to understand that we're in a situation that perhaps, yes, we would like to accommodate everyone, but we simply can't. Even though we know that there are poor people out there, the bumbero that some people are talking about, the senior citizens that we have. Yes, we would like to accommodate them and make them achieve their dreams of becoming lawyers, but legal education, if I may say this, and at the risk of being very unpopular, legal education is not there to let them achieve their dreams. Legal education is here so that our country has access to better quality lawyers. Okay? And so, well, you know my stand, that's it. Thank you very much.
Can I make
Thank
a
you.
last,
I
Miss
didn't-
Moderator?
I didn't know your stand, but thank you very much.
Hi, sir, but yeah.
Just
I think
very short lang, kung pwede.
I Thank you, sir, but we have already consumed your time. Let's just give first another time for Dean Mawis. And then after this, we will have a coffee break, and then we'll go back again to the online comments that were given by the deans, extend as an extension time, and then we will also entertain the law students later on. Dean Mawis, please take the floor, please.
Yes, but please do not shoot the messenger. I'm just reading the comments of first Dean Pichi, no? Moraleda. Dean Pichi, okay. No, 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 no. Wait. Just give me a minute. Here. No, it's there. Okay. According to Dean Pichi, I think the issue that we have to tackle right now is how to allow off-site learning considering that COVID is no longer a worldwide epidemic. We just need to anchor and strengthen the other arguments which pushes for freedom of law schools to determine whether to allow them to go online if need be. For us in BCOL, we need the online modality as a backup considering all the disruptions we suffered during the school year, volcanic eruption included. We have been on purely face-to-face but allowed online when professors request it due to disruptions and when they are on training somewhere else, mostly for our prosecutor professors. Also allowed online when one of our professors was recuperating at home from a major operation. He requested to teach kasi concerned siya sa delay because of his absence. So I allowed it na. Now that is for the time of Dean Pichi. Now my time please, short only. I will follow the time. Ma'am, as of last year, I really tried to implement face-to-face. Even before these discussions, I really tried my best. Because like you and like Dean Gatdula, my belief was maybe I'm the traditional type. I would like to see the students go back to school. I would like to see the faculty teach in school. But reality is, I just couldn't do it. Why? Because of the situation. While there is no more a pandemic, COVID is still present. And because of that, I had to adjust. I had to make sure that there is still a delivery, okay, of our services, and to make sure that there will be no disruption when it comes to the delivery of educational services. Number two, ma'am, I know it's really very difficult to teach online values. But with all due respect, ma'am, in our school, despite teaching online, we have sadly and regrettably maybe have 3-4 students who were asked to leave because of cheating. So the value is still there.
I could need you to move because it's going to be the feedback po sa tech.
No, I just
All of our
wanted to-
speakers are in the front, so
Okay.
that's why we are putting on the side.
I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
be more photogenic. That was the reason I was
All right, go. Kindly please tech
Okay, sorry.
photogenic side.
May angle yan eh. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, levity aside.
It's a good break.
Thank you.
Icebreaker. Thank you, Dean. Woo!
Thank you.
All right, you may continue,
So,
please.
ma'am, it's really, it was really a challenge how to make face-to-face be the preferred mode, because the faculty, the students, they're really having they were confronted with so many challenges. The nice thing about online is that I remember I had one student. She suffered COVID, but she never absented herself because she was always at home, listening and even participating. It's not only in Lyceum, I teach also in UP, same thing. In LaSalle, I allowed, and there was a request, may isa kasing estudyante, nagkasakit ng online, they requested, nagkasakit ng COVID, the students requested, ma'am, can we go online kasi sama-sama kami? Okay. So, I understand where Dean Ulan's presentation, I also do understand Dean Gatdula. But at this point in time, maybe, ma'am, maybe I hope we can find a middle ground where we can slowly, okay, return to face-to-face perhaps, or slowly accept reality that maybe hybrid is the way to go, or we can do online. So I guess, ma'am, what I'm saying is this: if we can reduce maybe in writing all our position, and then instead of, before we make that final decision, ma'am, we hope that all the positions relayed to you, backed up by empirical evidence perhaps, will be duly considered by the commission. That's it, ma'am.
Thank you, Dean. May we ask the members? Okay. Dean Kitchen. Yes, please, sir. May we
Hello,
introduce yourself?
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Attorney Valenton. I'm the incoming dean of the College of Law of the University of Makati. Well, I've been hearing that academic freedom is not absolute, but neither is power of regulation. The power of regulation is likewise not absolute. We understand the power of the lab to regulate legal education. We understand the public purpose for regulation. But what I cannot understand, which is one of the standards that have to be considered in the limitations of regulation, is the means of regulation. The good legal education board is trying to tell us that online education compromises legal education. But number one, what empirical data do we have to prove that? Number two, have we given online education the chance to prove itself? Or is the scrapping it would be premature? I mean, those are just the questions that I would like to raise. But as I said, academic freedom has limitations, but also is regulation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Yes, please, Chair.
Dean Valenton, since this consultation began, you never heard me utter the word power. I've always uttered the word duty. So I take personal offense in you saying that LEB does not have the power, because we're not talking about power here. We're talking about mandate and duty to uplift legal education. Now, you said that we have no empirical data to say that online education does not work. Is that what you said?
I'm not
That
questioning
online
you don't
education
have.
does not work?
Yeah.
The fact is, you should be providing us with that empirical data because you're the one insisting on online. We also don't have an empirical data that quality education suffers because of online education. We just hear it from one professor to another. Since we don't have empirical data from your end and empirical data from our end, we now we now need to implement the status quo. And the status quo was LEBMO 1, because the pandemic memo was a mere stopgap measure when the ill effects of the pandemic were at its worst, where deaths were numbering millions, hundreds of thousands in the Philippines alone. So neither of us have that empirical data, but what we know is that us here in the room, we were trained face-to-face. That is why we could have our advocacies. That's why we could articulate ourselves. Law students are not having that benefit of engaging in lively discussion with the professor. Online discussion is very easy, online learning, it's very easy po to merge students. When we were in class, it's very hard to manage students. Dean Olet was talking about managing students. It is very hard to manage students face-to-face. Lalo po pag matanda ang professor, ang dali pong lokohin ng matandang professor. And we know that. And not to malign professors, just some students think that they could always get away when the professor is older, mas malabo ang mata. It was so hard to manage students face-to-face. It's going to be even harder to manage them when they appear like 1-inch squares in the laptop or on the screen. So how can we really see if the student is reciting well? We have heard a lot of horror stories about how students, yes, they took advantage of online learning, but they took advantage of it in the most dishonest of ways. 1.5 years into the pandemic, 2021, they still have not embraced online learning the way they should have, which was to make use of technology. We don't have empirical data, but what we know is most students use online learning in the most dishonest and unnoble of ways. That's just what we know.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. By the way, ma'am, I did not come here insisting on something. I came here to listen and to understand, because it will be our duty later on to explain it to our students. So, but I've heard it, but I just don't know if that position of dishonesty of students is prevalent or is established. But anyhow, ma'am, I thank you for your comments.
Thank you also, Dean Volantin.
Thank you, Dean.
Then
Sorry, go,
I
Chair.
would also like to, I think I owe Dean Ulan an explanation about that academic freedom. That's a valid observation. In our 2022 memo, we wrote there that the paragraph, and then we finish with, in the exercise of academic freedom. Kung mapapansin niyo po, lahat po ng LEBMO namin, meron pong academic freedom. Kasi natuto na po kami sa Pimentel versus LEB that we might do something and it might be looked upon as violation of academic freedom. So every time we write a memo, it has been our habit to write at the end, in the exercise of academic freedom. So may I humbly say that we erred in adding in the exercise of academic freedom. I could go on, ignoring that phrase, but it's true that phrase appears. That was wrong of us to include that phrase, but it was then and this is now. And we apologize if that phrase has misled you. Some of you also say that you have invested in online platforms. Hindi naman po yun nasayang kasi napakinabangan din ng estudyante. And in the most unfortunate case that COVID's, the godless effects resurge, then we can use them again. So those platforms are not really put to waste. I would like also to add to the comment of Dean Gatdula that yes, and I think I saw this in the abogado.com, that by insisting on online, we kill the dreams of law students who want to finish the course, but they could not do that. They cannot do that if we go back to face-to-face. That is true. We are killing their dreams. They're nipping their dreams in the bud. But there are many ways of killing a law student's dream of becoming a lawyer. When we fail our student who can no longer re-enroll that subject because of financial or time constraints, we have effectively killed their dreams or his or her dream of becoming a lawyer. Can a student now approach the professor and say, you abused your discretion in grading my major exams. You didn't listen to my recitation remarks, or you didn't give value to my recitation. Can the student say, you have to change my grade? You're not going to change that student's grade because you're going to say, we can't do this. There's academic freedom on how to teach and how I'm going to grade you. Now, you cite academic freedom. I go back to LEB. We tell you, or we try to implement face-to-face because we believe that that is the most effective way of delivering information to law students and forming their values as lawyers. Now you say that we cannot do that also because of academic freedom. We say that we can do that, but we'll listen to you and we'll take note of everything you say and put it in a discussion board. But in as much as you can always cite academic freedom, we will cite RA 7662, wherein we have the clear and express mandate to take charge to uplift legal education, and we're doing the best we can. Can you imagine your students coming to you, and hindi naman po hopefully all your decisions are correct, but sometimes we err in our decisions, but can the student come to you and tell you, we're not going to follow you, you're wrong, we have academic freedom? You're not going to appreciate a student who does that. Ganun din po kami sa LEB. We have a job, not by way of power, but by way of our mandate under RA 7662. Dean?
Sir, excuse me, can you turn on your microphone so that you be heard online?
62. And Senator Pagara, the principal author, was very specific about recognizing and respecting the academic freedom because it is in the Constitution. As a matter of fact, it is in the law itself. It is in Section 7. It says there, you are to set standards for accreditation of law schools, etc., without encroaching upon academic freedom. It is there in the law. And I hope I would not be bragging about the matter that I was involved in the drafting of this bill, and I was into the public hearing of this bill, the creation of your board, 76, together with the creation of the Commission on Higher Education and the expanded Department of Education Law. And it is there. Senator Angara, so will be there. He said, academic freedom should be recognized. And malinaw naman that it is purely administrative matter for the school to determine on their own as to what is the best that would deliver education. Kaya hindi naman po siguro namin matatanggap lang. Mali yung sinasabi ninyo in your previous legal education board memorandum na we should not have mentioned academic freedom is there. Paano nyo naman masabi na hindi walang academic freedom? Can we hear from the other commissioners?
Let me just answer first because I was the one who
All right.
apologized for
Okay,
that
Chair.
academic freedom.
Go ahead, Chair, please.
That is true. I am sorry that you cannot accept my apology, Dean. Pero ito po yun. There is no definition of academic freedom in the Constitution, and neither is it defined in RA 7662. The principle of academic freedom has evolved through jurisprudence, the latest of which is in Pimentel versus LEB, where academic freedom answers, and I've said this earlier, answers who to teach, who to be taught, and how to teach. It doesn't answer where you can teach. That's really my take on academic freedom. It's outside the scope of academic freedom. This issue is outside the scope of academic freedom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May we call on former Dean Jason Barles of the St. Louis University online? I'm so sorry. Are you there? Tech team, kindly please unmute Dean Barles of St. Louis University. This will be followed by former Dean John Largo of University of San Carlos. Kindly please be ready. For everyone on site, we have refreshments outside. You can just grab there. We will be just consuming the coffee break for the dean's concerns, and later on, we will call on the law students. Thank you.
Ayan.
Ayun.
Good
Okay. Hi, Dean.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. I was actually raising my comments in the chat box for various reasons. Of course, a lot of them have already been said. But I am just surprised that this has been a discussion about what is better, whether it's online or on-site learning, when it's supposed to be really, as pointed out by Dean Ulan earlier, an issue of whether this matter is infringing on the academic freedom of the law schools. And I fully subscribe to Dean Ulan's explanation earlier. Aside from that, of course, on a very personal note, I will also speak on behalf of other persons who are not so privileged enough. And in my case, that's becoming a person with disability. The online mode has allowed me to teach freely in our law school. And if LEB will insist on this particular policy of saying that on-site should be done, I think you're also, forgive me for the term, trampling upon our our chance to be able to participate in legal education. Of course, you can also say, but we can go back to on-site because that has been done in the past. Yes, we know that, but haven't we learned anything from the pandemic? That's my question, di ba? Will we forget those things that we have learned from the pandemic? We have learned so many things. Leb has even encouraged us to be technologically driven in our lectures, etc. We have attended sessions for this purpose. I am really saddened by the fact that it's like we're just going back to our belief prior to the pandemic. That's another thing that I'd like to raise for the consideration of the LEB. Lastly, I think LEB is also aware of the fact that I am one who is fond of gathering data. And again, I am saddened by the fact that we are acting based on admission already earlier that there is no empirical data that has been considered for making this particular policy change. My question is, shouldn't it be a better approach to act based on data rather than anecdotal evidence? Justice Leonen has already warned us of this in Pimentel versus Legal Education Board, that the LEB should not act based on anecdotal evidence. Again, I think we're going back to that problem that LEB apparently is acting again based on anecdotal evidence. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Dean. Yes, Chair. Or any members of the board, please. Commissioner Lawrence, Commissioner Jojo. Wait a minute.
Everybody, so I'm encouraging the deans and students present to say your views. And I'm busy jotting down your views on this matter.
Okay, thank you, Com Lawrence. Chair, would you like to reply on Dean
I
Barles?
think the anecdotal evidence came from professors. Let us be honest, we all have our horror stories about how students would use 6 gadgets in front of them so that they could do well in recitations. We all are aware for that. I don't think that's anecdotal evidence. I think that's evidence that came from the mouths of professors themselves. And I still taught online before I was privileged to be appointed to this position. And I shared horror stories with my fellow professors. So that was not just anecdotal evidence. That was straight from the horse's mouth. Number 2, I admire your love for legal education, Dean Barrios. We've associated with each other in a lot of activities. And despite your disability, you're able to, you still have this passion to teach. But I think that shouldn't stop you from teaching when everything goes offline. I think on site, if we have the passion to teach, we're going to teach no matter what the circumstances are. It's called passion, commitment, and along with sacrifice.
Thank you,
Yeah, that's it.
Madam Chair. May we call on Commissioner Salex? You were raising your hand. Kindly unmute Commissioner Salex, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are here to
afternoon,
listen to the sentiments of the general public, the deans, the faculty, and the students. I hope that the audience should not make value judgments and stereotypes of the Legal Education Board. We work as a collegial body, and the main purpose of having this draft policy is to listen to your sentiments and not for you to make value judgment on the final decision of the board. All your sentiments, your comments, your reactions are taken into consideration by each and every commissioners for that matter, so that in proper due course, in due deliberation of a legal education board in bank, all of this will be deliberated professionally in a collegial manner. So I hope that everyone should understand that the Legal Education Board respects everyone's comments and suggestions, but it doesn't mean that all suggestions and comments are taken into consideration. The board has to decide with wisdom on what is best for legal education in our country. Thank you.
All right, before we call on Dean John Largo, I'd like to remind everyone again, on-site participants, that you can have your refreshments and be consumed outside. Let's take care of the auditorium, make sure that we will just drink, except for the commissioners on the stage. Just consume outside, and for those who will still have questions, kindly go to the aisle so that there will be no feedback as to our tech team. Thank you. May we call on now Dean Joan Largo of the University of San Carlos, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to the commissioners of the Legal Education Board. Good afternoon, everyone. We have 3 minutes. Do I have 3 minutes, ma'am?
Yes, please. Yes, please, Dean.
So I will use up 1 minute and I will yield the 2 minutes to my to my co-lover of legal education, Dean Tin of SLU. Madam, it is really good to know that what Com had said, that the board has not yet made up its mind, because we were quite alarmed when we were listening to Madam Chair, because it seems that there has already been a judgment on the matter when this was supposed to be a public consultation. But we are assured that the views that we have aired here will be taken into consideration, and that is really heartwarming. The second point I want to say is that the decision of the University of San Carlos to adopt blended learning for its law school is not based on anecdotes or in anything, but we have conducted survey not only amongst our students, but amongst our faculty. We have changed the processes. We have also invested on infrastructure. We have trained heavily our faculty during the pandemic. And because of that, in the manner by which our instruction is delivered, we have asked our students whether they have learned and whether it's effective. We have evidence and data that will show that. And then we have also asked them to evaluate our faculty as they deliver the instruction in a blended learning mode. And may I just make it of record, because this is supported by evidence, that the evaluation of our students of the law faculty performance, most of the faculty had been evaluated as outstanding. So our decision then, and our conclusion that has been reached, that blended learning works is backed up by data. But having said that, we were hoping that this would not be a debate between online and on-site, because the two have their benefits and they have also their disadvantages, and which is why the law school should be free to decide on what modality and manner of delivery of instruction should be adopted based on their own context. And with that, because I have extra time, I would like to yield the floor to Dean Tin.
Thank you, Dean. Dean Tin, yes, please. Tech team, can you please turn on the microphone for the wireless on the right side? Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioner Lawrence and Commissioner Jojo. Thank you, Dean John, for yielding your time. But I think I will not need like a lot of time to speak on behalf of St. Louis University. To our honorable commissioners, we had already submitted our position paper to the Legal Education Board. And in this position paper, we attached the testimonies of our students regarding their preferred or their preference as to the modality of instruction. But nonetheless, Chair, I'm hoping that you can reconsider, because I think earlier during the presentation, we all go back to LEBMO number 1. In LEBMO number 1, it talks about modular approach, because at the time that this LEBMO was issued, we still do not know about Zoom meetings. We do not know about other platforms such as Google Meet, Canvas, and other LMS. This LEBMO was on the date of issuance of this LEBMO, no, it talks about modular approach of delivery of instruction. And I guess it's, the synchronous learning is quite different from the modular approach. We all know that modular approach is very difficult to deliver. And when we deliver this type of, deliver the instruction through this type of modality, we really had difficulty at first, and that's why we we conducted a survey, listened to our students, and we shifted to synchronous modality of learning. And I believe that this modality of learning was not yet present at the time of the issuance of the LEBMO. And I'm really hoping, Chair, that you can, that the LEB will consider this as well, because circumstances had already changed. And we also learned a lot. And we also need to thank the Legal Education Board for this, no? Because the Legal Education Board allowed us to capacitate ourselves in order to make the delivery of online instruction more effective through the Legal Education Advancement Program. And we attended that as well. And I'm really hoping that LEB will not encourage us now to not to adopt all these learnings. And so I think, Chair, I'm really hoping that the commissioners will read the position papers submitted by St. Louis University. I will no longer echo the points that we had raised in this position paper for lack of material time, because I also trust that all the members of the Legal Education Board will read our attachments, meaning the testimonies of our students, and the matters that we had raised in this position paper. Thank you, Chair, and the commissioners for listening.
Thank you, Dean. May we call on Dean from the... sorry.
You first.
Okay. Is it okay if you can approach the left aisle, please? And then after him...
May I reply?
Miss Dean
I might
Kitchen.
forget again. May I please just briefly reply?
Okay.
I would like to address what Dean Largo said, that you are being alarmed because as if we already formed a judgment. We have actually said that we should go back to our face-to-face policy. Of course, I would like to defend that policy because that is our policy that we are trying to, in the same way that you are defending your stance. So I don't think it's right to say that we've already formed a judgment. We are deliberating here. And if we could throw away our arguments completely, then sure, we will consider. But if we cannot throw away our arguments completely, we will have to stand by our proposed policy. Number two, you've made surveys for blended learning. You've conducted surveys among your faculty and students, the very people who cry academic freedom. Of course, your surveys will be self-serving. I'm sorry to be very dismissive, but I do not expect, or it cannot be expected that your surveys are really that accurate, because you've surveyed people who are crying for academic freedom as we propose that we should go back to face-to-face policy. Now, you said again that you should be free to decide what modality you should use, contrary to what we are saying that we should now go back to face-to-face. You are now submitting your evaluations that online learning is working best for your students. But we had LEBMO 62, where we urged you to submit reports on how online was working for you, and none of you, not a single law school, submitted its assessment of how online was working with them. And now, just because we're going to face-to-face, you now are saying that online works. You cannot do that because it's academic freedom, because of academic freedom. We are all authorities here. You are the supreme authority in your school. You will not appreciate if your students say, allow us to do what we want to do because of academic freedom. And we also don't appreciate it. To be very humble about it. We don't feel empowered, but I think we should be allowed to perform our role as gatekeepers of legal education system. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Dean, please. Sorry.
Yes, sorry. It's okay. And You also have surveys from your students, and to repeat, as far as LEB is concerned, the preference of students is off the table. That's really for the convenience of students, because if that's your position, then why don't you ask them if they still want to retain the Socratic method? And I've said that earlier. When you said that you've invested in platforms, you participated in capacity building exercises, there was a time when we really didn't think that the pandemic or the ill effects of the pandemic would ever end. That is why we all invested in this one. But the ill effects of the pandemic are no longer as bad as they were a few years back. We really need to snap out of the convenience that online learning has provided us. We can justify it all we want, but really the bottom line here is convenience. And that's your bottom line. Our bottom line is the upliftment of legal education.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May we call on Dean, please? Introduce yourself and the legal education institution you're representing to. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to the commissioners and to my fellow deans and the stakeholders from the various law schools in the country. I promise I will take just a little of your time, and I promise I will not mention academic freedom. So, I would just like to put things in perspective po sana. Number one, legal education. There is no question that the role, mandate, and responsibility of the LEB is as regards the regulation of law schools and legal education. As Dean Gatdula mentioned earlier, his opinion is that law schools are actually, or they have the responsibility of producing quality lawyers so that society can benefit from it. But that being said, legal education does not exist in a vacuum. We would like to encourage the Legal Education Board, please, to consider its role that legal education is merely preparatory for the legal practice. And maybe that's something that can be examined, ma'am, where the legal practice is headed. Because like, for example, the Supreme Court, in issuing the strategic plan for judicial innovations, has emphasized accessibility, efficiency, into moving towards digitization. Likewise, the IBP, in its regional conventions and its 50th anniversary theme, looking back and moving forward, has also emphasized digitization. When we previously thought that video conference hearings are not possible, they are possible now. And if we stick to the old modalities, ma'am, how can we say that we are basically providing capabilities to our law students in a digitally oriented world? So that's one po. And secondly, with all due respect, ma'am, I would like to not agree with the statement that legal education is not for everyone. Call me optimistic po, but I believe legal education is for everyone who wants it. Because, for example, we have a student in Dinalungan. If we look at the map of Aurora, Baler is in the center, and the northernmost and southernmost tips are both 3 hours away from the center. We have a student in Dinalungan, which is about 2 hours away from Baler. She actually takes the PisoNet to go online. Sorry, it's making me, because the effort of that student to go online, pay the PisoNet. I actually made a mean joke. Pa nga, sabi ko, nasa UP ka ba? Bakit ka nasa Diliman? Without me knowing na yun pala, naka-PisoNet siya. She walks 2 hours to and from the PisoNet center just to be able to attend law classes. So that's another po. And my third point, which is not very serious na, sorry. As a perennial optimist, I believe, and no disrespect to everyone who lost their loved one during the pandemic, I believe the pandemic actually moved the world forward. So in terms of medical innovations, technologies, using Zoom, work from home, when things we never thought possible, they are now possible and are actually the norm. I believe that we had the old normal, we have the new normal, and I don't think that we can ever go back to the old normal, knowing what is possible now. Virtual assistants will not go away. And as educators, not just legal educators, we should equip our students, even in colleges, to be equipped on how to handle a digital and more connected world po. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Raquel from the Aurora State College of Technology. May we call on Dean Kicha? Sorry, may I ask if anyone from the
Raquel?
board would like to reply on
Yes. I did not mean to be arrogant when I said that legal education is not for everyone. And I agree with you. Legal education is for everyone who wants it. And for everyone who wants it and will move mountains to accomplish it. That's what I meant when I said it's not for everyone. Now, you say that what is the direction of the LEB because the direction of the Supreme Court is towards digitalization. I think even if we go face-to-face, our students, future lawyers, will not forget the digital life. We go digital every day. Hindi po tayo mahuhuli sa point sa gusto ng Supreme Court just because we go face-to-face. And yes, we all move forward now. The pandemic has caused us to move forward. Does that mean that going back to face-to-face is going backwards? Is it backward in every sense? We're going back to where it was, but it doesn't mean that we are in a backward methodology just because we're going face-to-face. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. May we call on Dean Kicha, please?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, and to the members of the board. And with much admiration, thank you for being gracious and patient in hearing all our comments on the subject matter. I'm Rico Paulo Arquicho, and I'm the Dean of the Universidad de Manila College of Law. I also teach at San Beda College, Alabang. And from our students, ma'am, we would like to thank you for being here and hearing and listening to us. At Universidad de Manila College of Law, we have already announced that our modality for the coming semester would be online. And our students are very happy, ecstatic, and raring to be back in law school. We have prepared our position paper, which we would submit, and hopefully the board would consider. I totally agree with my mentor, Dean Ulan Sarmiento, with all his legal arguments. With that, Madam and members of the board, we really hope that there could be some semblance of cooperation between the Legal Education Board, which we hope would also look not only at the benefit of our students, but also of the law schools. You are our parent. You are our guardian. Please, at this stage, let us move forward together. Let us listen. Let us also feel the plight, not only of our students, but also of our professors, of the state universities, of the charter universities. We are not all equals. We are not all equals. Let's treat each other with the dignity that each and every one of our students and professors deserve. And with you, Madam Chair, we know we are in safe hands. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Kicha. May we call on Dean Gil de los Reyes from the online audience we have? Dean Hill, are you there?
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Dean. Your
Yes,
turn.
first I'd like to welcome everyone. Unfortunately I am not in Manila at this time, but I think the one message I would have is, one is that, well, De La Salle University is going face to face in the coming academic year. But having said that, one of the things perhaps that I wanted to bring to the table is there need not be one position. Perhaps what we could look at would be possible steps that schools who want to go online can take in order that they can be allowed to do so. And possibly, there are many schools with many experiences already, and I think if we put them all together, we might be able to come up with what would be the steps that we need to take to continue going online. There are many concerns: cheating, there are concerns of interaction, there are concerns of CLEP. I am aware that the LEAP created a lot of venues for professors to teach. I just don't know how many professors really went, and I wonder whether the professors and the deans and the schools that propose to go online had a full participation in the leap. That would be one good indication of how serious we are about going online. So again, let me welcome you to our campus. I'm sorry I'm not there, but thank you very much.
I think I've addressed some of the issues raised by Dean Hill, and out of gratitude for being accommodated here, I will not comment.
Thank you, Dean Hill, and thank you, Madam Chair. Do we have other? Okay, ma'am, can you please take on the aisle? Thank you.
Good afternoon. Okay, I just want everyone to know that in De La Salle Lipa, we have already advised our students that our modality will be hybrid unless otherwise advised by the LEB, because that was the latest memo from the LEB. So after hearing the discussions here, we just want to know, and also we have also professors from Manila, because in La Salle Lipa, we have students not only from Batangas, but also from Quezon, Laguna, San Pablo, Mindoro, and even some from Metro Manila. And we also have our professors who are, actually, I think more than half are from Manila also. But after hearing the pros and the cons, our concern is, do we really have to implement, if ever, if it's going to be on-site, do we really have to implement it this coming school year? Because I think it might be too soon. We are not well prepared because our students will now have to scamper for boarding houses, dormitories nearby. So that is our main concern. I don't know with the others, but most probably, next year? Or I really don't know, but we just want to know, should it really be this coming semester? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dean. May we ask the commissioner, the members of the board, please?
If we decide to implement on-site, we will implement it this school year, meaning August 2023. First of all, the reason why we are proposing face-to-face is because we believe that it is the best, not only for delivering legal information, but also for value formation, as we have repeatedly said earlier. Now, if that is our belief, our other belief is that online is not effective in delivering information and in value formation. So if we think that the bus is not working, why would we want more passengers in that bus? So for us to give a transition period for law schools is saying that we don't believe in online, but we'll let you do it until you are able to embrace the idea that we're now back to where we were before. And speaking of transitioning, I don't know, I mean, we transitioned from face-to-face to online because clearly online was a new kind of ball game. But what new skills do we have to learn in going back to face-to-face? We're going to the same school, the same building, we're going to sit on the same table, we're going to have the same class cards. So what transition skills do we need to develop until August 2023? And then, of course, I feel bad that there are students who will have to find dormitories or find places to reside with this new development. But you cannot say that they've really saved a lot on online teaching. 50 law schools increased their tuition fees during the pandemic. I don't think that we can really honestly say that we are thinking of the expenses of the student in advocating online learning. Not to mention that legal education incurs a lot of costs. We wish we could really, we don't want, that's why we regulate tuition fees as well. We ask you to report your tuition fees just so that we know that it's within the allowable increase range. We do not ignore the plight of students financially, but legal education really entails costs that were there already before a student even thought about enrolling in law school. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May we call on Mr. Lian Juanico, Administrative Officer of the San Beda University?
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Attorney Lian Juanico, Administrative Officer of the College of Law of San Beda University. With all due respect, ma'am, with your position earlier that the modality answers the question of where to teach, it is our submission that it is covered by the academic freedom, particularly the how to teach, because it is a modality. When we speak about the question of where to teach, that pertains to what particular institution does the student go or does the student learn? Is it from San Beda? Is it from UP? Is it from Ateneo? But if we're talking about online, on-site, the modality, it pertains to the how, which is covered, as you have mentioned, by the academic freedom. Now, granting for the sake of argument that this issuance will take effect this school year, Madam Chair, it is our humble request that at least more inclusive exceptions be included in the issuance. Like for example, ma'am, if a particular legal educational institution will be a local testing center for the Supreme Court, we are deprived of our campus for at least 2 weeks. And how are we going to conduct our classes during that time? So that's one. What if, for example, a lot of students contact COVID-19? What if the professor gets COVID-19 or other illnesses, like for example, chickenpox, that he or she cannot attend the classes? So if, granting for the sake of argument, na hindi na matitinag at matutuloy na to talaga, our request, our humble request is that more inclusive exceptions be added in the issuance. Hindi pwedeng lahat pasok, period. Or only the electives will be taught for a particular mode or which is hybrid. So it is our humble request that at least to a certain extent, more inclusive exceptions be included in the issuance. That's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for raising your concern. May we
Sorry,
ask
but when it's the issue of academic freedom, I really cannot stop defending. You say that it's how to teach. The question of online versus online is how to teach. No, it's how to deliver. It's not how to teach. How to teach is, do you want to teach us in English, Filipino? Do you want to teach this Socratic or not Socratic? That is how to teach. But whether it's online or offline, it answers a question, how to deliver and not how to teach. So it's still not, I'm not ever gonna go in the path of academic freedom. Thank you. But we will take note of the exclusive exceptions that you have suggested.
Thank you for your response, Madam Chair. May we call on Dean Tarion of Jose Maria College online as our online audience.
Hello, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. Can you hear me? I'm based here in Davao City. Very sorry I could not come there. The plane tickets nowadays from Davao to Manila are astronomically high. So I could not just go at a short notice. I'm very sorry. But nevertheless, let it be known that Jose Maria College, one of the youngest law schools in the country, is going online. Yes, this semester. However, pursuant to our compassionate policies, we likewise make it our policy to give a lot of exceptions by likewise entertaining the idea of blended learning. What is the reason behind this? The reason behind this is that law schools, as we understand this, is the gatekeeper also as to who can enter law school. And we feel that it is more compassionate on our part to give more access to everyone, to give students who prefer online education to be given the chance to do that. Anyway, it would be their lookout if they will pass the exams that we will give them, which surely will not give any exceptions as to whether or not you enter the classes physically or online. So we are hoping that the Legal Education Board would likewise maybe adopt this policy. Okay, if you feel that it is within your authority to regulate and mandate that there should be physical presence of all law students. Perhaps it is within your authority, but we pray that you would allow a lot of exceptions also. Exceptions that would be more in consonance with compassion, that would be more in consonance with access, because it would be more in keeping with justice that we give more access to individuals and law students who would like to learn but would have difficulty in going to school physically. That would be all, Your Honors.
May we ask the member of the Legal Education Board to reply?
We'll take note of the exceptions you've suggested. We'll study them, but of course, I just have a comment. If a teacher is sick, why would he teach? How can you really effectively teach? If your goal is to just finish the syllabus, then that's not really quality teaching. If a teacher is too sick to come to class, he will be too sick to deliver effectively online. But we'll take note of the exceptions you've suggested.
I would like to read the message from Dean Vivian Pakirigan of the University of the East. We also request that whatever decision is reached by the Legal Education Board will not be applied to refresher courses because this is covered by Bar Matter number 3756 issued by the Supreme Court. At this time, may we call on Dean Farah Decano of Lyceum Northwestern University. Dean Farah, are you there? Tech team, can you please unmute Dean Farah?
Hello. So can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Hi, how are you?
We can hear you now.
So I'd like to echo the stand of the other law schools, and I am for the delivery of delivery of teaching through online education or hybrid on the following grounds. Number one, it's access to education. It enhances that. That's already been told a while ago. Number two, of course, it gives the right of the university the freedom as to how the teaching can be done. Number three, of course, it gives the students the option as to what university they would like to go to. I'm sure I'm proposing that this kind of policy will not be mandatory for all universities. Let the university decide whether they would like to go online or they would like to go face-to-face, in which case the students get to decide which university they want. If they're more effective in learning as regards face-to-face, then they go to that university. And if they're more effective with face-to-face, then they go to a university that provides education online or hybrid. And as regards faculty members also, if they would like to, they're better off teaching with face-to-face, then they go to a university that teaches face-to-face. And as regards faculty who prefer teaching online, then they can teach in universities that offers online courses. That's all. I think everything has already been told. And another one, of course, the other matters that should be considered by the LED. Of course, there are environmental factors. You know, when you go online, you don't go around. You just stay at home or you stay inside your office and listen to your professor. So you lessen the carbon footprint. Number two, also, of course, there are also social advantages there. When you are a family woman or family man, you could study while you are at home watching your baby. So there are social advantages too. So I think that's all. The rest are I am echoing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Farah. May we ask the member of the
We've addressed that
board?
earlier already.
Okay, thank you,
Yeah.
Madam Chair. On-site audience, do we still have any? Okay, Dean Ted, kindly approach the right side of the aisle, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ma'am, there's the word refresher was mentioned by Dean Pagirigan. May I seek clarification if this would be covered by?
When you mean refresher,
I-
it's a
re-
refresher course And the students are all refresher students?
Yes, all
They're
refresher.
not mixed with other law students?
No, no.
Oh, definitely, because our position is value formation, etc. So there's no rhyme and reason for us to include refresher
that one.
courses.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Just for the information of the body, San Sebastian College of Law had been implementing face-to-face classes for over a year now. And, but we do realize also that there is, there's this technology that some of us found very helpful. May I refer to the exceptions, ma'am, in the proposed order, and that is, I think it will apply to electives only. I think it's a realization that hybrid is also a good way to go. As a matter of fact, it recognizes that we'll be able to deliver that, but we're somehow limiting it to elective subjects. I really don't know how we selected the subjects that could be delivered hybrid. I think it will work better for, let's say, legal writing or legal research, but because I'm sorry, I advocate face-to-face also, because of the experience that we have in our law school. And again, it may be peculiar to us and may not be applicable to the others who are teaching in remote islands. So all I'm saying is, how did we pick the electives, Your Honor?
Thank you. The reason why we put a special exception on electives is because it's not a bar subject. So it is the least damage we can do upon via online teaching, where the student does not engage in real-time or face-to-face interaction with the professor. There's no automatic correction of the student. We thought that electives could be the exception. In any case, it would still be hybrid, because we don't want the students also to lose the benefit of engaging at least half the time with their elective professors. Number two, it's because there are very few elective professors. These are professors like, for example, environmental law. We don't have a lot of environmental law professors. Not everyone can teach environmental law. And so that's why we gave special exceptions to electives.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May we call on last question from Dean Vic, and okay, sorry. Okay, maybe Dean Vic, is it okay if we first call on the lady? Okay, thank you, Dean. Ladies first, yes. Thanks, Dean.
Good afternoon po, Madam Chair, and to all the commissioners, as well as to all the deans over here. My name is Benny Rose Sulapas. I'm actually the Law Student Council President of Jose Rizal University Law School, and I'm also authorized by our dean to represent the school today. As I was actually listening to everyone who's talking earlier, I am in awe of all the knowledge that I was able to hear from everyone, especially with your positions on the face-to-face setup. But since this is a consultation, I would actually like to also let you know on how JRU Law School feels on the matter. As the Student Council President, I've conducted an online survey with our current students po regarding the preference of the modality of classes this school year. I understand that there is, of course, a regulatory board which is the LEB, who handles the policies and the regulations. But also we would like to acknowledge the situation and the circumstances of every student. As the Student Council President, on our survey result po, we actually got 74% who actually prefers online learning. 21% would actually be for hybrid learning, and only 5% are in favor of face-to-face classes. I myself would actually be in favor of the face-to-face classes, but considering that my house is also far from the law school, I live in Binangon and Rizal and would travel to Mandaluyong, I understand the sacrifices that I have to go through. But because of the challenging times that we have transitioning from the pandemic through our current situation, I would like to humbly ask our commissioner and all of our commissioners here, and also Madam Chair, for the consideration of the transition. I think the whole here is that we are going to implement face-to-face without preparing enough the students to really transition to face-to-face coming from an online setup. I understand that the online setup is temporary during the pandemic, but then again, we have adapted to the kind of learning that has been implemented for the past 3 years. And personally, I would also agree to the fact that there would still be another year for us to actually have a graduate coming from the online class setup. To it, proceeding without conceding that these pros and cons would be given, I would like to humbly ask that somehow, Madam Chair, you would actually consider the situation of all the students as well. Although I've heard earlier that the students would be off the table when it comes to the discussion, but I really want to be representing everyone in the student body that there are a lot of advantages as well and also circumstances that needs to be considered in order for us to implement the policy on whether the modality should be face-to-face, online, or hybrid. So with all due respect, I hope that you would actually listen to our voices as well. Thank you very much.
May we ask the reply from the member of the board?
It's okay. I have no reply, but thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. May we call on Dean Vic now? This will be the last question for the deans.
No,
all right?
actually, everyone might be caught off tangent here. Hindi po to tungkol sa online-offline. May tatanong ko lang po ay yung curriculum ng LEB. Kasi matagal na po ako nagtuturo. I was one of the advocates, I must admit, my modesty aside, natanggalin ang negotiable instruments law. We were in Hong Kong. I was part of PULSE, and we were having a dialogue with Chief Justice Bersamin. Sabi ko, wala namang bangko tumatanggap ng cheque, ba't nandiyan pa yun sa law school? Tinanggalo sa bar. Ma'am, and with all due respect to the board, bakit nandiyan pa yung negotiable instruments law na yan? Hindi po kayo in sync sa Supreme Court bar syllabus. Hindi ko alam, pero nakita. Kung wala na po yan, salamat. Because I think the best way to move forward really is, if there's any amendment to the memorandum or curriculum by the BLEB, let us be in sync with the Supreme Court's bar syllabus. That way, we are preparing our students to take the bar exams and tap them. Hindi ho pwede yung ang mangyayari, pagdating sa law school, hindi na ba sinabi yan ng LEB eh? Iba nasa LEB eh. Ito, example lang. The LEB does not use the word political law. In your curriculum, it uses constitutional law. Meron po nag-text sa akin, Dean, ano po ba ang diferensya ng constitutional law sa political law? Isa lang yun. Sabi ko, pareho lang po yun. Hindi po eh. Siya pa nakipag-argue. Sabi po ng Supreme Court, political law sa syllabus. Sinasabi na LEB, constitutional law. That may be very basic, but for an incoming freshman or a freshman student, medyo confusing. So, yun lang po, ang gusto kong imungkahi na sana po, moving forward, ang maging curriculum ng LEB, maging in sync. And I will also talk to the Supreme Court, to my friends there na, huwag naman kayo bago ng syllabus. Pambihira naman kabibili naman ng libro last year, bago na naman yung fourth. Actually, just to let you know, I've been doing my small talks with them na have a bar syllabus or syllabi good for 4 or 5 years. Kung baka sa kotse, hindi ka babago-bago. Kasi yung law school, dapat in sync naman kami sa inyong syllabus. So yung ituturo namin, hindi pa bago-bago. Minsan ang haba, minsan with taxation and taxation. Magkaiba yun eh. So, I mean, these things are maybe very, very fine, but it goes into the very heart of LEB's mandate. Anyway, lahat po tayo dito ay mga magkakaibigan, okay? Napakasarap po ng pakikipag-usap sa mga matatalinong abogado katulad natin. Amen!
Thank you, Dean Vic, but that's beyond the topic for in-person learning modality. We'd like to note that too. Thank you so much. At this point, we will call on now the... Okay.
Initially,
That's the dean.
our heart is full of gratitude for having asked and conducted this public hearing so that you get to hear the voice really. And I think it's quite obvious that, notwithstanding the position of other law schools, that I mean, at the moment it's really online. I mean, you talked about, Madam Chair, of convenience, but why is it not? Is it immoral for us to let this student of ours go through law school learning and still at the same time enjoying convenience? Let us just be, I hope you were with us in San Beda, Alabang, and our motto, as I may be able, is quoting really Sister Teresa of Calcutta, who said to us, he said to us, let no one live happier and not being better. We really just need to consider what would be the modality that would, first and foremost, kami kasi sa San Beda College o in Alabang, teach student first, honestly. And I just do hope you consider that. So it says, let no one ever come to you without living better and happier. Be the living expression of God's kindness. Kindness in the eyes, kindness in your smile. So, my point is, why do we have to sacrifice convenience when we could do it together with delivery of quality education? Let's be frank about it. I'm pleading. Not all students are in a similar situation. We need to help out. And quality education is mandated not just as a privilege, but a matter of right. And I just do hope, Madam Chair, with your beautiful heart, together with the commissioners, you reconsider, because we ourselves admit there is no empirical evidence yet to show proof as to what really is better. Because I would say that at the moment, insofar as the faculty of the College of Law of Alabang is concerned, online is better. We get to finish the course, and our students get to review them all over and again and again. And our bar percentage passing is a proof to this. Sabihin natin, hindi pa sila. But they already took it. So, sana naman, and it's the clamor of, I don't know, I really do not, sorry, but I hope that there really be that essence of compassion now. That this student of ours must be recognized by us as our own children. And if it be necessary for us to accommodate them, to give them as much convenience as we could, not to sacrifice the quality, then why the issue of, it's mere convenience as an argument against online? So thank you, but really, Madam Chair, we love you for what you have done here together with the board, that you have allowed this public hearing at least to air the same, all this to you, so that you may really consider them now, just not from what you may be hearing. That's why I wanted sana naman for the other board members to say something.
Okay, thank
Not
you.
just the chair, but of course, time is wala na, so that's it.
Yes, thank you. May we ask the board members
Uh,
for a reply?
Since Din Ulan has requested, but Din Ulan, I already made my opinion to the board, and that was part of the deliberation. And since it's a collegial body, I go with the majority opinion, and I think we act as one. So my personal opinion, I believe, should remain a personal opinion, and I have to support whatever is the opinion of the majority. But my chair knows my stand. I have really shared to her my position, and after sharing that, the board made a decision, and I stand by the decision of the board.
Thank you, Commissioner Jojo. At this point, we will now call on the law students to raise their concern. First, Mr. Chua, please. I'm sorry, Mr. Chua. Let's go first to Miss Nathalie
Hello.
Yeah, Miss
Hello.
Nathalie from
Good afternoon
ALSP.
po. Good afternoon to everyone. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank you po for discussing this because it concerns the students. Medyo na-alarm lang po kami dun sa off the table ang students' perspectives. So we were just deliberating if I will read the comments of the different schools or not. But since they approached me and to speak on behalf of the students, we actually have a meeting with the regional boards, governors. I'm from the Association of Law Students of the Philippines. And from Universidad de Manila College of Law Student Council, they said that we are for inclusivity and equal access to legal education and adaptability innovation towards modern means of learning. We are for progressive means of learning the law, insisting on return to full face-to-face learning modality is not practical and not economical. That's from the Universidad of de Manila. For the University of the Philippines College of Law, we, the UP Law Student Government, vehemently object to Section 1, 2, and 4 of the proposed draft policy for compelling in-person learning modality for the following reasons. First, the UP College of Law as a public institution has limited resources. Classrooms are in short supply due to the ongoing renovations of the college, owing to the age of its infrastructure. Implementing a complete in-person setup for the college would be a logistical nightmare for the students, the faculty, and the administration. Furthermore, the college is constrained by health and safety protocols implemented by the University of the Philippines, which effectively reduces the class size to ensure safe distancing. Second, the college has the program and the infrastructure to implement a hybrid setup. A specifically curated learning management system has been used by the college since the onset of the pandemic. Academic resources have also been made available virtually through the expansion of virtual access to jurisprudence and an improved process for retrieving resources online from our library. Third, hybrid learning allows less disruption in the delivery of learning. And fourth, the proposed measure is an overstep of the academic freedom of the institution, which was discussed earlier. From the pamantasan ng lungsod ng Maynila College of Law, they are also skeptical with regard to the readiness of the facilities. From Lyceum of the Philippines University, College of Law, Makati, the students of the LPU College of Law is not in favor of the position of implementing a fully in-person learning modality. However, the student body is receptive to the idea to continue the current hybrid setup implemented by the university. From Visayas region, University of Bohol. Bohol is a wide place and a lot of Boholeños aspire to be lawyers someday. But not all of us can afford. Online Learn gave them the chance or option for us to be able to enroll ourselves with learning just one click away. If we go back to face-to-face, most of us will have to choose, and because of the distance between school and home, sadly, people will choose work. There are 3 law schools in Bohol, and all 3 of them are located in Tagbilaran. While it is true that in law school we must spend, but not all of us are privileged enough to support ourselves in school. Online learning is nothing but the best in this digital time. Those were the comments po from the Association of Law Students of the Philippines. Thank you so much po.
Thank you, Ms. Nathalie, for Compiling all of the comments from the different schools, may we call on Commissioner Alexander Dumpa on our online. Are you there?
Yes po. Narinig po ako? Yes po. Good afternoon
Yes.
po. I am Commissioner Alexander, the regular member representing the law student sector in the LEB. I have contacted the Secretary General of the Association of Law Students of the Philippines and other students already, and now currently waiting for their position paper on the matter, also for the consideration of the board. I have been listening to everyone's concerns po since the beginning of the public consultation. Please know that your input and the students' welfare are crucial to every decision-making process that the LEB undergoes, and the LEB assures everyone that your concerns have been duly noted and will be carefully considered by the board and bank. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Commissioner Dumpa. May we call on now Mr. Chua?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Commissioners, of course, my professors, and fellow deans, students, good afternoon. Yes, the UP College of Law has made its position, and I just wanted to provide some context. And I'll try to keep this as brief as I can. I have two jobs. I'm a working student. I've faced both online and face-to-face. I've actually taken the PhilSat back in 2017. I know that all these positions are made with good intentions. I would like all the positions that the deans have clearly placed in most of the things that they initially wanted to say. But may I at least ask that it may be considered in Section 1 that because it states clearly that of course we all know that it's mandatory on all law schools. And I would like to echo the thing is, may I at least echo the concerns of the administrator of the San Beda College, San Beda University, that some exceptions be made. There are catastrophes. We have to deal with strikes. We have to deal with transportation. I myself, in my experience, I worked in Makati, go to BGC. I walk at least 1 hour, walk at least 30 minutes going to BGC terminal in the Ayala EDSA corner. Then I have to make my way to BGC, which takes me around 30 minutes to 1 hour. Sometimes if I'm unlucky in EDSA, it's 2 hours. And I already, my class has already started. May we just ask that for the consideration of the commission, the board, that some exceptions be made. It's not out of convenience. For me, at least, it's not out of convenience. I really do want to be a lawyer. I just hope you consider these things. I echo the more emotional side of the considerations of everybody here. And also on one note, before I end, the concerns of the anecdote, we know that cheating happens sometimes to some people. We have the tools to deter this by, for one, in my experience, we've kept exams shorter, the duration of exams shorter. We've had to deal with 2 cameras just to take our exams, one facing us, one facing the computer, and clear desk everything. There are means to do so. There are means to prevent cheating. There are means to prevent people from asking help from recitations, because I mean, radio exists even before the advent of messaging systems. So with this in mind, moving back to my original point, at the very least, if the board's decision is really, despite the feedback from everybody here, to have the modality be purely online, and this won't affect me, admittedly, UP has a separate mandate, but I hope you consider some exceptions at the very least at the very least, bar people affected by the bar campuses that are affected by the bar, because we have different campuses that already are regionalized. At the very least, calamities, outbreaks, because we're only the next pandemic is only, it's only a matter of when. It's not a matter of if. I mean, we've said that even before COVID. So, good afternoon to everyone, and I understand that you might have concerns about my statements. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chua. May we ask the board members if they can reply?
Thank you, Mr. Chua. Actually, I listened to the difficulties you've raised, but they are the same difficulties experienced by working students during our time and working students before the pandemic. They existed already. You input those difficulties before going to law school. Now we're already, there's still a pandemic. I don't want to argue about whether there's pandemic or not. That's for the health officials to say. But it's really, something's got to give. We really have to make some sacrifices if we really want to obtain a law degree. And next,
I don't mind it. I understand there are those motives. I'm just saying that at the very least, if it's not considered the fact that online learning will be shelved for now, but I'm just saying that at the very least for calamities, it be considered.
we'll take that into, put that into discussion table.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. And also, yes, I understand that law schools have put some checkpoints on site, like, to prevent cheating, etc. But those measures are aimed at preventing dishonesty. It doesn't promote honesty. It just prevents dishonesty. And those are two different things. And I think we need to make ethical lawyers out of our students today. But thank you for your observations, Mr. Chua.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this point, we will call on a law student online. This is Wimbledon Martiliana. This will be followed by Angel Zambrana later on. Then later on, okay. Wimbledon, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Just a consultative question. This is not regarding the modality. I think it's already very exhausted. So I'm actually a stroke survivor. I have 4 comorbidities. I understand the chair would probably say that there are so many people who have my problems also. So I'll be straightforward. For students who have already completed half of or more of the total required units for JD Law, what is the best recourse, or what's the course of action now that the implementation of the new curriculum has caught up? Again, this is a purely consultative question. Any answer I will respect, ma'am. I'm just asking for directions because I'm completely lost. Thank you.
The curriculum now. What when you enrolled, what was the when did you enroll? What year?
Oh, ma'am, I enrolled in 2018 and then I got a stroke, and then it actually lessened my memorization capabilities and my concentration capabilities. And because of that, I still had to work. So, but anyway, to give more data, ma'am, I already have 60 plus units. So I'm actually torn whether to continue on or not.
So your problem now is
I'm actually sorry. Go ahead, ma'am.
what is your what is your concern?
Can
you still continue with
Yes, ma'am, I
the
can.
2018 curriculum, the curriculum before the revised model law curriculum, since you started with the old curriculum? Is that what you're trying to ask?
That's right, ma'am. I don't know what will happen. How can I move forward? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, that is really already the call of the school where you're studying, because they have policies on that. Like, schools have different policies on how to respond to your situation. In my law school, our policy is that if you have already enrolled in our law school in a, in a, in a particular curriculum, we will allow you to continue with that curriculum. But then, again, there's academic freedom. So your law school will also have its own policy. So I think the best person you should ask is your school registrar and your law dean. They will be the one to guide you on this matter.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much for thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir
God
Don.
bless you.
May we remind, okay, thank you, Sir Don. May we remind everyone to please focus on the in-person learning modality as our topic for today. Thank you again. May we call on, yes, Dean. May we ask, Dean, is it okay if we can move on the aisle because there will be feedback again from our tech team? Thank you.
Good afternoon once again. I think, ma'am, a lot of students in law schools have already expressed intention as regards the submission of a position paper. May we just inquire and confirm if the LEB is open to this, and what would be the avenue of such submission, and is there a deadline for it po?
Of course, we will. Of course, we will submit. Will wait for your position papers. It's now June 16. Maybe before the end of June, maybe up to June 29. Is that okay? 29 talaga, no? Okay, 29.
Okay, so again, the deadline for the position papers for the in-person learning modality will be until June 29. You may email this at contact@leb.gov.ph. May we call on now Angel Zambrano online? And then next we have our on-site participant.
Good afternoon, everyone, and to the good commissioner and the chairman of Legal Education Board. I go with, first I will go with the position of Dean Torion, although I do not know him personally, that legal education should be also conducted with compassion and the accessibility of education. Second, just about 2 days ago, I received a call from 3 to 5 of my friends in Manila that their family members contacted COVID. What if we will enforce face-to-face through the Legal Education Board, which I recognize your mandate. There is no question with it. I recognize, I believe, and I will follow the mandate of Legal Education Board. I respect that fully as a student of law. But just about 2 to 3 days ago, I don't want to mention names, 3 or 5 of my friends in Manila contacted COVID positive. And at any time, will the Legal Education Board be responsible if the face-to-face classes will be implemented? And some of the students and faculty and professors will contact COVID? That the answer I do not know. Third, let us not deprive people of their dreams to become lawyers. Every day, there are people coming asking their pastors who are victims of injustice. What can the pastor do? That's why some of the pastors enrolled in law from Mindanao, from Visayas, and in Luzon. But we are assigned in different places, 1,000 miles away from the school. That's why our preference would be online. Dean Fistin is a very strict dean. I mentioned his name. He is very serious dean. You have to close your eyes, 3 cameras and everything. And the moment he will see that you are cheating, you are out. That's why we still prefer online learning. Thank you.
May we ask the members of the Board of the Legal Education? Please reply or provide feedback.
I think that the question of the dean, the good dean, was whether the LEB would be responsible if anyone contracted online the virus, should we go face-to-face. I think that if the IATF in the future announces that we should quarantine ourselves and we still insist on face-to-face, then you could blame us for whatever virus is contracted by anybody. But until then, even without any declaration from any agency, we should really be responsible for our own selves. Nobody can take care of us. We cannot assume responsibility just because we have mandated the return to face-to-face. We're not going to be responsible for any disease because that person does not live in the classroom. That person goes around. He has a home. He has family members who go around. So we're not going to claim responsibility for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May we call on now our on-site participant? Kindly please introduce your name and the law school represent.
Good afternoon,
representing.
our Legal Education Board, ma'am, sir. Good afternoon, everyone from the legal community. I'm Cristel Dialogo from the Universidad de Manila. Our stand was a while ago already announced, but just to emphasize, I would like to focus on just one thing. Just to let everyone know, our school comprises of 91.2% that are working law students, and majority, if I'm not mistaken, are government workers. And 23% are residing outside of Metro Manila, including me. I'm originally from Bicol. Now, I have already heard, and we've already heard the discussions about academic freedom, health, environment concerns, and also the importance of also granting convenience to not just to the students, but to the professors. But my focus on my opinion today is under Republic Act number 11650, which was just enacted last March 2022. The definition of inclusion. Inclusion refers to a process where all learners, regardless of their background and abilities, are given an equal chance to play, learn, and interact together in the same learning environment and community. It is an approach where every learner is valued, supported, and given access to equal opportunities and learning experiences within an exclusive learning resource center. We have been talking about this in our school, and with all due respect, we are not here to keep on stressing the convenience. It's actually about us being working students. I understand, ma'am, you've already raised, there were already the past students, working students, they worked through it. But right now, ma'am, and also we discussed earlier, that we will become part of the society. That's one of your priorities, the reason why you want to regulate and uphold the legal education. But us, as we see now, having our own families, our work, our professors also the same, having the same circumstances. After working hours, we get to go on time, online, be able to cover the full 3 hours of the required hours per subject. We see the number of students like me, a returning student who once had to stop school due to other reasons. We now see students like me who are now inspired to go back, because right from the start, we want to be part of the society by being practicing lawyers in our own way. My take here is that I hope we be given the chance also to be heard. Earlier, you said, ma'am, that our opinion or our stand, correct me if I'm wrong, is off the table. But we are here, ma'am. We are doing the best we can from different circumstances. From our Dean Quicho, we are not equals here. We are a public school, Universidad de Manila. We are working through intermittent payment of our tuition fees, and we are working from 8 to 5 and then going to school after. My point is, just to make it short, is that we hope, ma'am, sir, that we be given the chance to be heard also like this, in a way that may we give not a transition period, but perhaps some sort of a compromise wherein we show you that, okay, this is the percentage of our students again, 91% working students who will are able to go to and our professors also to go to class on site. And this is the percentage of students who are able to still attend to their academic obligations online. I hope we be given the chance to show you that, so that our school, it's more of, okay, I'm talking about just my school now, but we would like to grow also. We are just a very, very small College of Law, but we have been growing. And our passing rate for the bar exam is at 74%, and that from 11% passing rate. We have been making efforts to make our institution better and welcoming students like us, even outside Manila, to give them the opportunity to become lawyers. And we hope we be given that opportunity also, ma'am. I think the point here is really inclusivity, just to let everyone have that chance, not having anyone be left behind. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I would like to correct you. I never said that the opinion of law students are off the table. Is off the table. I said the preference of students, and I've repeatedly said that word, the preference. Because if we're going to base our decision on the surveys made to students, then I don't think we're going to come up with the right decision. So I never said the opinion of the students are off the table. I said the preference of students is off the table. And you talk about inclusivity, but inclusivity sometimes, in this case, inclusivity will come at the cost of quality education and value formation. Sure, we'd like to, your law school for sure would like to include as many possible students who would like to be lawyers, but what is the cost of that? What is the quality of legal education that you will have online? Inclusivity is not always, it shouldn't always be the winner. We always talk about inclusivity these days in almost all sectors of society. Inclusivity is the rule. Exclusion is the exception. But when it comes to legal education, inclusivity is at the cost of legal education. So, but we will review that tape and we will put this for discussion as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May we remind everyone again, especially the law students community, that the position paper will be accepted until June 26. Earlier, I said June 29. Again, I'm so sorry, it's June 26. The deadline for the position paper will be on June 26. Thank you so much, and that will be the last question and raising of concern from the law students. May we call on now Dean Ada from the Adamson University for the last. I'm sorry. It's a Philippine Association of Law Schools.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Thank you very much, Chair. Just to wrap up, I think we are all in agreement here that we are just after quality legal education. I think the reason also why this the Legal Education Board has come up with this policy, the proposed policy, is it wants to ensure that the if there is online learning, especially so that this is a very new thing, that quality education will still be delivered. On the other hand, we do recognize the advantages now of online teaching methodology. So I am hoping, and I trust the Legal Education Board would have listened to all of our views and all of our opinions and our positions, and that hoping that there will be a way forward, looking at a middle ground by which all the interests of the stakeholders are properly taken into consideration. So maraming salamat po. And probably yung mga position papers po ninyo, kung meron man lang, please forward it at the soonest possible time, because we still have to prepare. It's already summer term, and then August will be coming in. We'll be preparing for our first semester. So maraming salamat. I would also like to ask Dean Sol if she has some final words as chairman of the Philippine Association of Law Schools.
Now I have to make sure that I will face the camera so that. But
Dean,
levity
I'm sorry,
aside.
Dean. Can you? Is it okay to go to the aisle again with your right angle? Yeah, we make sure that this time is good. Yes, 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 Dean. Sorry, it's the feedback. I'm sorry. All of the speakers are in front, so that's why we're at the aisle.
Let me just share with you, Chair. Just maybe give me just 2 minutes. You know, my son is a fourth year. Third year law student. One time he went home. He said, "Ma, now I feel that I'm a law student." I said, "Why? What happened in school?" First, you know, he was really online. He started as an online student. So when UP went back, sabi niya ganon, tinawag siya sa recitation. And so his computer was turned on, and when he stood up, his computer died down. No? And then he had to recite from memory. And he had to recite based on what he studied the night before. And when he came home, he told me, now I know how it feels. Okay, now I know how it feels to be a law student who can recite in front of the teacher. That made me think. But at the same time, he went home one time and said, buti na lang online. And I asked him why. Because my teacher had an emergency. He will not be able to teach us because his daughter is very sick. He had to go to the States. But now he can deliver the teaching materials online. So I really do not know, Chair, what is best. Maybe it is hybrid. Maybe it's online. It really depends upon the situation, I think. But one thing for sure, my son didn't like the idea when online, he was still an online student, full online student, he asked for baon. He said, Mama, pengin baon. So I said, okay. Tapos naisip ko, online ka eh. Di ba? So pinadalan ko naman siya, here's your baon. And I sent him a picture of 100 pesos. No? Here's your baon. He said, Ma. And then I said, well, you're online? Then I will give your baon online also, no? So my point here is maybe at the end of the day, and I thank you for this, Chairman and Commissioners, that we're given the opportunity to share our own experiences. May your experience, may our own experiences, may the experiences of the students guide us in coming up with an acceptable, reasonable, and justifiable level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean Mawis and Dean Ada, for those parting words on behalf of the Philippine Association of Law Schools. And at this point, we have reached the end of our public consultation. Let's call on the Chief Operating Officer of the Legal Education Board, Attorney Aaron Mark Misa Di Maano, for the closing remarks on this public consultation.
Thank you, Marga. All right. Wow, what an afternoon. First of all, let's congratulate each other. Okay. Thank you. Please, a big hand for everyone here, including our stakeholders online. Maraming salamat. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Listening to everything that was discussed and shared this afternoon, it really strengthened in my mind my view that it really takes a village to have legal education, to form lawyers. And what that means for me is that in a village there will always be a multitude of ideas and voices. And sometimes it may sound discordant and heated. But it is very important that the village remain aware that they share the same commitment and goals. Of course, the thing that comes to my mind is the framework laid down by RA 7662. And although it shouts for reform and growth, it's still something true to us. That what we have in legal education, and that's why we are passionate for it, is we're training the new generation of change makers, of decision makers, of leaders of this country. And so when we think about that humongous duty, sometimes we really are passionate and voice out our advocacies about it. But if we remember that we are all committed to, as the pals mentioned, to that idea of making sure quality education for legal education is maintained, I'm sure that we will definitely find common ground. In this juncture, it is opportunate we are hosted by the De La Salle University in its Tanyada Jokno School of Law. The namesakes are obviously paragons of what legal education can produce. Nationalists, patriots, people who will serve this country. So yes, we will talk about the ins and outs of today, the challenges of online, offline, but the bigger picture is our duty to our country by which the FULEB was established and why we continue to give so much of ourselves. So at this point in time, again, I thank all of our stakeholders for showing up, for giving time, for making sure your voices are heard. Thank you to our board members for showing that the board is working and that every passion and every heart is in this to make it work. So, I also would like to remind everyone that even as we have this event close, the discussion and conversation continues. The journey and the challenge of legal education goes beyond June and in the years to come. So please, we invite you. Our doors are always open. Again, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your voices. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Attorney A, for those closing remarks. And again, we want to express our gratitude to the panelists as well as to all our stakeholders. And again, your valuable contributions are very much appreciated, as well as your insights surely help shape future discussions and decision-making processes regarding the in-person learning modality. And again, we'd like to thank Dean Hill for extending our venue today, as well as the staff and all the family of the Legal Education Board, as well as the tech team of the DLSU. Thank you so much. And may Jesus live in our hearts forever. Keep safe, everyone, and good afternoon.